Today is how do I acquire anything in the world without credit, without a bank, and without any of my own money? And in some of these situations, I want to know, how do I actually get paid to buy these assets? And we're going to start it off by talking about an asset I just closed a couple of days ago. I'll give you a great example and I'll show you proof that I buy real estate without any money from my pocket and I get paid to buy that real estate up front. And this should eliminate a lot of your objections of saying, well, I need to save up a lot of money. I need to be really, really, really dialed in on saving money for myself. And I think the biggest lies that we were all told is we were told originally that if I want to buy real estate, I have to save up money. I have to get good credit. And let's talk about those lies before I get into this story. So I would say that lie number one that I was taught was you need to be licensed to be in real estate. Okay, this is an absolute lie. I have never been licensed. I will never be licensed. I do love licensed real estate agents, but I am not licensed. Here's how this works, my friends. When you are the investor, you are the owner, and you hire what we would call a W-2 employee of real estate. That W-2 employee of real estate is called a realtor. I'm sorry if you are a realtor, but you are the employee of people who are in real estate, which would be the investor, or the owner, which would be a homeowner. People that are investors and homeowners are actually in real estate. People that are servicing those clients are not in real estate. They service people who are. And so I wish somebody taught me that earlier on, because I was convinced that when I started, I needed to go out and get a license to get started in real estate. Okay, that's lie number one. So lie number one is getting a license to get started in real estate, okay? Lie number two is I was told that I need to save money to buy real estate. That is an absolute lie. Number one, I will show you today on multiple examples that I don't use any of my own money. I don't save any money. And a lot of times, here's lie number two, is that I need a down payment to buy real estate. That is another lie, okay? And also, when you are buying rentals, you cannot make money. This is also another massive lie that people tell you. You cannot make money. I get paid up front to buy a lot of this real estate, and I'll prove that to you here in a couple of minutes with an actual address on something we closed just a couple of days ago. So these are big lies, right? Also, I was told I need a bank to buy real estate. I was told I need good credit. I don't know what my credit score is, guys, and I do not need credit at all. Here's another one that's going to blow your mind. You do not even need a social security number to buy real estate. You don't need to be a U.S. resident to buy real estate and own things here. You don't need to be any of those things. This is all an absolute lie that I believed all up front. And I was convinced that I had to go and get a really nice, well-paying job, have a 2-year work history so that I could go and ask the bank, Daddy Bank. I like to call it Daddy Bank because that's how I used to treat the bank. It's like, oh my gosh, please give me money, Daddy. And I was afraid that I was never going to be successful in real estate. All of these things are absolute lies, and we're going to show you guys that through today, tomorrow, the next day, etc. And we're going to go into multiple different strategies and talk about where deals come from and how to determine which strategy you should actually use. So in order to do that, let's talk about one of my deals that we just closed on a couple of days ago, and I'll pull up proof for the people that are skeptics. I love skeptics. I really actually do, because they, number one, give me fans to watch what I'm doing. And then number two, give me an opportunity to prove them wrong. Here's a property I just closed on a couple of days ago. Beargrass Lodging and RV Resort. So let's go take a look at what this is. This is obviously has cabins. It has RV hookups. You can see right here, there's RV spots here. There's a pool. There's a cabin. There's a bunch of hotel stuff. This is a great little property. Where this is located, you can Google this yourself, is near Glacier National Park. It's very, very north. It's near Canada. I have properties. I just bought a deal in New York. I have properties in California, Dallas. I have properties in almost every state. This is just one that we closed recently, so it's a good time to bring this story up. Beargrass Lodging RV Resort closed on a couple of days ago. I will pull up the settlement statement and show you guys that in a couple of minutes. But let's go down and let's just talk about what this looks like down here. Let's go down and do a little drive-by. Okay, super cute. And this park operates 6 months a year. I'm buying it from probably this lady right here, actually. We bought it from her, and her family are retiring. So just a cool little asset that you drive by on a daily basis. You don't even think twice about it. Nice little grass yard. Look over, it has a heated pool. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Probably can't. Let's see if I can get over on this side street. And you can see nothing special, nothing special. However, here's what is special about this property. This property produces about $400,000 a year in profit for the existing sellers right now. The people that just sold it to me, they take home $400,000 a year. This property produces $600,000 a year in sales or revenue. This is cool. I like that. I like to buy a business, right? An RV park that produces $600,000 a year. And don't worry, guys, we're going to talk about single family. We'll talk about storage facilities. We'll talk about a whole bunch of stuff over the next 4 days. But this one just is a recent deal that we just closed. It makes, okay, $600,000 a year in sales. The current people that are running the park that just sold it to me, they have employees and taxes and overhead and miscellaneous stuff. They take home $400,000 a year in net income. Most people would be happy with a one and done situation. They're happy with this one deal. Cool. Well, I bought this deal. Okay. I bought this deal and we used creative finance. And the way I used creative finance on this deal, I did not use any of my own money. And I actually got paid to buy this property. So let's pull up the settlement statement so you guys can see the actual address. Settlement statements are a piece of paper that essentially get recorded, and they give you a recording number, meaning that they go to the county recorder's office. They become public record so that you know what I'm talking about is absolutely true because this has been recorded at county recorder's office. So if you look here, you'll see that this was closed. Let's see, what day was close of escrow date? Okay, settlement statement. March 31st, 2026. For people watching this in the future, I'm so sorry that you're watching this in 4 years from now, so you think what I'm teaching you is not that valid. It is valid. I bought the property for $3.2 million. None of that was my money, which is awesome. Okay. We got a loan amount for $1.9 million. This strategy we're using is called the Morby method. Okay. Morby method. We will talk about that later, probably on Wednesday. And you will see that on this deal, I got paid a $32,000 acquisition fee. In fact, it was given to me the day I bought it. Okay. And even one of the girls on my team got paid $2,500 and somebody on my team got paid $1,600 for underwriting the asset. So $32,000 in my pocket as an acquisition fee came to me. And the structure of this deal is called a Morby method. Morby method is a super advanced strategy underneath the creative finance umbrella. We're going to be talking about a lot of different strategies, but how many people that are watching live right now just were like, wait, hold on, you got paid to buy a $3.2 million RV park? No money out of your pocket? What? You got paid $32,000? Yes, I got paid $32,000. Give me a wow, a yes. This is possible for me. I can go and buy businesses. I can buy RV parks, mobile home parks. I can buy these things. And how many people feel like this is the right way to buy real estate instead of waiting for the banks to lower interest rates or wait for people to, the federal, oh my gosh, the Fed is lowering rate. Who cares? I don't care. It's not important to me. I don't track any of that stuff. And so you guys need to understand creative finance. You can get paid to buy businesses, RV parks, mobile home parks. You can get paid to build a portfolio up front, and I'll have multiple examples of that as we go through the week. Okay. Has everybody, somebody says there has to be a catch. That's the mind of a poor person. I used to have that mind as well, Abraham. Only poor people think there's a catch. Somebody told you that in your upbringing. And there is a catch. The catch is you were never taught this because you never hung out with rich people. I was never taught this until I hung out with rich people. I now learn all sorts of things. I learned something here. I'll give you something new that I learned recently. Okay. Who knows what an S block is? Actually, give me a no if you don't know what an S block is. Give me a no. Give me a no. Okay. Look at all these people that don't know what an S block is. There's got to be a catch. There's got to be a catch. There's got to be a catch. There's S block catch. Here's what an S block is. Do you know rich people use a strategy? Okay. An S block is a strategy that a lot of rich people use that is all about buy, borrow, die. There's full books written about it for over the last 75 years. There's strategies that literally the name of the book is called Buy, Borrow, Die is one of the books. You won't read it. And even if you did read it, you wouldn't know what to do with it. Here's what it means. It means I'm going to go buy real estate using zero of my own money. As that money grows and that value of that property grows, I'm going to go get loans against it. And then that loan is also tax-free, right? I'm not taking income. I'm not paying myself a check. And then I die, and essentially my children inherit my wealth through a trust, and I avoid taxes all the way through. So the real estate helps me avoid taxes. I buy it with no bank, no credit, no cash out of my pocket. As it goes up in value, I borrow against it. Those loans that I go and get are tax-free income for me because they're not income. It's actually a debt. And then I die. I never have to pay any of those things back, which is pretty cool. There's full-on books written about it. Now, here's what an S block is. This is an interesting thing. An S block means securities-backed line of credit. You don't know it because your parents don't have one. You don't know it because people in your circle of influence don't have one. It doesn't mean there's a catch. It just means you hang out with the wrong people. I'm sorry to hurt your feelings. I'm also one of those people. I used to be one of those people. Here's what an S block is, okay? Rich people don't buy stocks and wait. Here's what rich people do. They buy stocks in a brokerage account, okay? And let's say they go buy $1 million in stocks or S&P 500, whatever. They have a loan, or I'm sorry, they have a $1 million in their brokerage account or $100,000 or $10,000 or whatever. Did you know that there's lines of credit that you can go get against that money, that $1 million you have in the market? It's called an S block, securities-backed line of credit, that they will give you a loan at 4% against your own money. So this $1 million is still earning 12, 15, 20% interest. Meanwhile, you borrowed against it to go and do more deals with it. And this cycle continues to go forward and forward and forward. How many people have, first off, this is over your head, but how many people, this is the first time you've heard of an S block and that this is what people are doing with their brokerage accounts? Guys, this belief system of like, it's too good to be true. You just grew up in a poor family. I'm sorry. It's the truth. I also grew up in a poor family, 12 kids in my family. My mom and dad, my dad still works to this day. I grew up around people that have poor language and use poor people's conversations. I'm sorry to hurt your feelings, but it's true. When you say it's too good to be true, guys, you live a life that's too good to be true. Your cell phone 20 years ago, somebody would have been like, that seems too good to be true. The laptop I'm using right now with an M5 chip Ultra from Apple, using the technology that is here today, 20 years ago is too good to be true. Even a Stanley cup, a Yeti cup, right? These cups that can survive a fire did not exist 50 years ago. And if somebody showed that to them 50 years ago, they'd go, that's alien technology. That seems too good to be true. Toothpaste was too good to be true 300 years ago. Toothbrushes was too good to be true 200 years ago. Do we all agree with this? Stop saying things are too good to be true. You are showing where you came from. Okay? You live a life that's too good to be true. I have a laptop right here, an iPad, an ATEM, another iPad. I got screens everywhere. This technology didn't exist 15 years ago. I live a life that is too good to be true. So do you. So let's eliminate that belief system. It's one of the reasons. Yeah. Wanda says there's not always a catch. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. So this is interesting. Let's pause and do a little Q&A for a second for Justin Dean. I think this might be maybe a little bit of on topic, maybe a little off, but let's just prove to the people that just trickled in here that we are live. Justin Dean, how you doing? How can I help you? Let's re-ask the question so that everybody can hear your question that didn't read it in the side chat. Justin Dean, how you doing? Justin, you have to choose your audio device properly.
Can you hear
Just
me?
FYI. Oh, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I was just kind of curious. Are you holding that asset then in an LLC, and then you're taking out the S block loan against the LLC itself? That's the collateral. So
Okay,
it's
so
not
the
like a traditional refinance.
correct. So you're not doing a refinance. So are we talking about S block is securities backed line of credit? Okay. So that would be a security, which would be like stock portfolio, S&P 500. That would be ETFs. You're not talking about real estate right now. We could talk about real estate in a different question, but right now the question you're actually asking is about an S block, securities backed line of credit. So off topic what we're doing, but that's perfectly okay. I also am the one that went down this rabbit hole. So re-ask the question.
So your collateral for the S block is your ownership stake in that LLC that owns then the RV park.
Okay, so you're going back to real estate, my friend. Forget about real estate. S block is not on real estate. S block is on stocks, ETFs, S&P 500. There's a very big difference. Line of credit is you can do that on loans. That's a different topic. You're not forget about the RV park because you're asking about S blocks. How do I get a loan against stuff and where does the collateral come from? Let's talk about that for a second, okay? I'm going to simplify this and dumb this down. Where do you live, brother?
I live in Missouri.
Okay, cool. You live in Missouri. Cool. You guys out there are doing some hillbilly stuff, so this is going to make some sense for you. Believe it or not. Okay, so somebody has a car, right? I'm a horrible artist of a car, but you have a car, okay? And let's say that this is like a Honda Accord, and it's a 2015 Honda Accord, 11 years old, and let's say it's worth 7,500 bucks. I could go sell it on the private market today for 7,500. You following me?
Yes.
Cool. Is this car an asset? Yes or no?
Yes, it is.
Technically, everybody would argue this is a liability. It's a car, it has maintenance and all that kind of stuff. So, in its current form, if this car sits in my driveway and it's receiving, my tires are going bad and the paint's going bad, this is a liability. How do we make this an asset? We make this an asset if I put a driver in it and that driver starts doing Uber Eats. And all of a sudden, this car is producing, let's say, $3,000 a month for me on Uber Eats. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so that now becomes an asset, correct?
Correct.
Cool. I'm leading you down a path, obviously. So let's say that you, Justin, are this person that's using this car to go out and make income on this Uber Eats asset, this car. But something comes up, right? Your daughter needs to get married or something needs to happen. You need $7,500 to go and pay for a wedding for your daughter. You sound too young to have a daughter, but maybe I'm wrong. You definitely sound too young to have a daughter that's going to get married. But let's just
she's not getting married anytime soon.
Okay, cool. So let's make this up that at some point you're going to need some money to pay for a wedding. Okay?
Okay, I follow.
Could I not go to my neighbor and tell my neighbor, "Hey, I have this asset. It is a car. It's worth $7,500. Okay? And I need to get a loan for $7,500." Your neighbor says to you, "Hey, Justin, what do you have that has value in the tune of 7,500 so I'm protected that I can borrow against?" You tell your neighbor, "Well, I own a car. It's worth 7,500 bucks." Your neighbor goes, "Okay, perfect. That's my collateral," right? So did you sell your car in that situation? Or in this situation, can you get a loan for $7,500 from your neighbor and keep driving your asset that's making you $3,000? Does this make sense?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it makes sense.
Answer the question. Can I get a loan for $7,500 using my car as the collateral? I'm not selling my car. I'm using it as collateral to protect my lender. And can I still use the car because I still own it? And can I go out and keep producing income on that car?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Does everybody understand this example? Yes or no? Can I get a yes in this example? Everybody can follow this example. If you can't, you might not speak English. Okay. This is how an S block works, exactly the same way. Okay, so check this out. S block is so different than what we're talking about. How did we get onto S blocks, Justin? We got onto S blocks because we have people that come from poor families, just like I did, that have a poor mindset that they think that everything is too good to be true. Okay. And so I went down the road of S block to show you something that's happening on a daily basis that most people have no idea what an S block is. So let's talk about this. Okay. I can go, by the way, do you want to know, watch this. You're going to look in the side chat today. And how many people have stocks or an investment portfolio of some sort that don't know what an S block is? Give me a me. Say, I have stocks and I don't know what an S block is. Okay. Look at how many people know what stocks are and look how many people have no idea what an S block is. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people have no idea what an S block is, yet they have stocks. Why? Because you don't talk to rich people. Period. Same thing with me. Why didn't I not know about this? So here's what that means. It means, Justin, you go and you put, you do have a daughter, it sounds like?
Yes, I do. 7.
You have 7 daughters?
No, 7 years old. Sorry.
I'm like, dang, bro, you sound too young to be having 7 daughters.
I'm not that crazy.
Okay, cool. Well, you're in Missouri, bro. There's an element of crazy in your life, just FYI.
You're still not Arkansas.
Okay, yeah, that's true. All right, so Justin, you decide, I want to go put $10,000 in a brokerage account for my daughter. And I'm going to just add money to that every single month. I'm going to add $500 to that every single month, right? Sounds reasonable. Sounds like something that people are going to do. And I'm going to give this to a broker, like somebody that knows how to actually trade my money. And I'm going to give them a directive to go out and trade my money and try and get a 12% return on my money on average for the rest of this account's life. Okay. Sounds reasonable, right? You're giving your money to Merrill Lynch or you're giving it to JP Morgan. You're giving it to somebody to trade for you on your behalf. You're not self-trading. You're having somebody trade for you. Following me so far?
Yeah, seems reasonable.
Cool. What an S block is an S block is I go, dang, Justin, I know you've been putting money into this brokerage account, Merrill Lynch or what have you, for the last, 4 or 5 years. And you've got $10,000 sitting here. And now you have an outside emergency. Something popped up. Maybe your daughter needs a crown on her tooth for $3,500. You, my friend, could go right to your brokerage account and request an S block and get a 4% loan right now. Today, you get a 4% loan, even though rates are like 6.5. You can go get a 4% loan on an S block against the collateral of your 10,000. Did I sell my 10,000? No, I used my $10,000 brokerage account as collateral, just like the car situation. I don't know where I put the car, but just like I did in the car. I didn't sell the car. I used the car as collateral, and my trading account in this situation is still earning 12%. Meanwhile, I went out and got a loan for 4% to cover this $3,500 emergency. Or this is usually what poor people do, is they're borrowing money to cover an emergency. Rich people borrow money against their S block or use an S block to go invest and buy a business or do more stuff and make more money with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Any question on this? Is this more helpful?
I guess in my head, I was getting a little bit into the weeds on the tax structure and implications of how you structure
guys,
the S block.
I'm going to answer his question, but I want to give you guys clarity on something. You guys sometimes when you're new, ask questions you don't deserve the answer to. And what I mean by that is you don't even have this problem and you're asking questions about the tax implications of a problem you don't have. Do we agree with this? Can I get a guilty in the side chat from everybody?
Damn, I'm called out.
We all are. Yeah, right. I'm the same way. I will not call you out unless I also am guilty of this. You are asking questions you do not deserve the answer to. And it's one of the reasons why you're stuck in your life. You are stuck because you ask questions way before you even take action. And so you are guilty of being stuck. Those questions stack up like blocks in front of you, right? So every time you ask a question, it's another block that stands up in front of you and it prevents you from taking action, especially when you don't have a problem to ask a question about. I'm happy to answer that question for you. Okay. In fact, Justin, let me give you something really powerful. Okay. I'll give this to everybody today at the end of the training. I will give everybody a copy of my corporate structure, and you can see exactly how I have my corporate structure set up. Would that be helpful for you?
That'd be amazing. That'd be a really cool insight.
Okay, cool. It's going to overwhelm you, and you're going to be like, wait, I have so many questions. Cool. I'm glad you have questions. That's awesome. Let me show you a little bit of it. And I will kind of give you take a screenshot if you guys don't want to wait for the email, but here you go. Here's my corporate structure. I have a trust, I have a will, living will, power of attorney, life insurance, holding companies, I have management companies, I have all sorts of stuff. Take a screenshot of it. Okay. So you don't need to worry about any of this stuff. This is like black belt ninja status type of stuff. Justin, do you agree that knowing everything about this corporate structure, I've paid hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars from attorneys to learn this stuff, to unlearn the wrong things, to then hire somebody to teach me the right way, to dismantle my corporate structure and set up a new one. This would be kind of a waste of your time in the current situation you're in right now. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that would be a huge waste of time to know all the details.
Cool. But you are a little bit of an overthinker, right? An overanalyzer. And I want to give you permission to do that. But I want to give you permission to do that in a way where you are actually taking action and you create a problem for yourself. I'll give you a good example, and I'll teach you guys this over the next 4 days. Here's how you guys need to shift your life. Okay. So I've got Justin, my friend. He's cool. He's in Missouri. He's got a daughter. She's 7. He's living his life. He's a happy guy. What he needs to do is go, man, I want more. Okay. Well, what do you want more? Do you want RV parks? You want mobile home parks? You want businesses? I don't know. You'll determine that hopefully by the end of the 4 days, but you want more. Now, what I would suggest is you actually go generate a problem to ask a specific question about that problem. What is a good problem to have? Because most, employees are 9-to-5 mentality people. They want to avoid problems. Okay. This is what poor people do, is they avoid problems. Rich people realize that when we solve problems, we make money. Okay. So what am I trying to do on a daily basis? Am I avoiding problems, or am I chasing problems and skills to solve them? Obviously, I'm chasing problems. You guys are avoiding problems. Here's a good problem to have. A good problem to have is a seller who owns something they want to sell and they want to retire. And you now have a problem. What's your problem, Justin, in the situation? How do I buy this thing with no money? I know that I write fast and my pen goes faster than, or my brain goes faster than my pen can go. I apologize. But with no money, no bank, and you, in some situations, want to get paid up front. Do you agree that this is a problem you should go be chasing at the end of the week?
Every week.
Okay. Does everybody agree with this? This is the problem you want to have. And so when you now have this problem, you have the address, you have the situation. The only question that you should be asking is, how do I solve this situation? Okay. Every other question is a waste of your time. Every other question is a waste of your time. In fact, Daniel Herrera says, is this the mobile home training? Yes. If you just want mobile home training, I would suggest going and reading a mobile home book. The most important thing that you can learn during this week is, how do I acquire things without any money, whether it's mobile home parks, trailer parks, RV parks, whatever. First thing that we want to cover for the first couple of days is, how do I acquire anything without any money? Can I get a yes that that's what we're covering? And also write in the word guilty when you show up an hour late or 43 minutes late and you're asking, what's the training about? Okay. So this conversation is not about S blocks, but has everybody learned a little bit? I think the number one thing you probably want to admit that you've learned in the first 43 minutes today is that there's a lot you don't know. And your circle of influence and the people that you spend the most time with, your 9-to-5 friends, the people you go to church with, the people you hang out with, they don't know what you want to know. Have we at least learned that so far today? Okay. So have we also learned that there's things out there that you did not know and that you used to think are too good to be true, And that we had a gentleman earlier that said, my name is Abraham, and I think this is too good to be true. And I kind of had to school him a little bit. Are we glad that we went down that route? Okay. Let's change the belief system. Okay. All right, cool. So let's go back to this asset, and let's go back to showing you guys the address for the people that just trickled in. So you can see all the people got paid. So look, check this out. So I bought the property for 3.2 million, but my total purchase price was 3.251 million. Okay. Why is that? Well, that's because I made sure that everything was financed into the purchase. Okay. 3.25 million. This is important for you guys to take screenshots of this stuff, because you want to know that when I talk about an asset or I talk about a strategy, you want to know that I'm actually telling you the truth. You want to know that I actually know what I'm talking about. You want to know that I gave you a record. Look at this, 8505 FPT. These types of things are recorded on public record. You can take a screenshot of this. You can go pull up the property address and see that I actually own it, or my LLC owns this. You can see that this is the name of the seller. Seller D-Bird Holdings, Montana. That's the guy that sold the property to me. Okay. You can see what day I closed, 3/31/2026. You can see that that was just 5-6 days ago. You can see that I bought the property. I had a contract on the property for $3.2 million. And you can see that I went out and structured and got paid $32,000 up front with no money out of my pocket. These are important things for you to understand, because when we go out and we start looking at mobile home parks or RV parks or single family or Section 8 or whatever it is, every single person fails at every single asset type because they have no idea where the money's going to come from. And they run into the same block wall, which is, I have to save up money and get a bank loan, and I have to qualify for a bank loan, and I have to put all this money in this deal. How am I going to survive? So they don't know that answer. Therefore, they don't take action. And I give them 5 days of mobile home or RV park training. And that training, in my mind, especially Section 8, Airbnb, co-living, all of these things are a waste of your time if you don't know how you're going to buy the property. You don't know how to structure and what's going to happen with these particular situations. And so my main focal point over the next couple of days is to help you identify what structure to apply to a deal that you're looking at. Can I get a yes? We all understand that in the side chat, please. Okay. And so everything that I'm going to talk about has everything to do with what you want to learn. You just are so addicted to TikTok, whoever said that earlier, that you want a short answer with no context in 7 seconds, or else you're going to swipe. My suggestion is, this is a 3-hour training. You should just swipe and leave. This is not one of those situations. Okay, cool. All right. So that particular RV park I just bought, that one is using the Morby method. Okay. The Morby method is something that we will cover in a couple of days. This is a strategy I created in 2013. Been doing this for 13 plus years. And now I have about 15,000 students that do the same strategy, but that's only one of 26 creative finance strategies. I'm going to do a brief overview of the Morby method, and just kind of the reason I'm bringing up Morby method and the higher level black belt strategy in the beginning is because it's a deal I just closed a couple of days ago. Okay. So creative finance is a really big umbrella. Okay. If we look at it like an umbrella, you're going to have seller finance underneath there. You're going to have subject to, which we'll talk about primarily today. You're going to have lease options. You're going to have dating contracts. You're going to have agreements for sale. You're going to have bond for deed. Some of you guys have never heard these words before, and these are how we buy properties without any money. You're going to have stuff like the Morby method, which is a completely different strategy from all of those. You're going to have wraps. You're going to have contract for deed. Okay. You're going to have installment sales. Okay. How many people have just heard 5 words you've never heard before in your entire life? Give me a me in the side chat. These are acquisition strategies that people use to buy real estate, buy businesses, buy RV parks, mobile home parks, apartment buildings, etc., without any money out of their pocket, without any credit checks, without any banks involved, except for one strategy. There's only one strategy in here that involves a bank, and that's the Morby method. All of the other ones, no bank, 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 no credit check. Morby method is the only one that requires that. So let's talk about that basic structure for a couple of minutes. The way that this works in a Morby method deal, okay, is I actually have a live deal. Maybe I talk about Morby method the rest of the day. It's really highly advanced. Maybe I go to a simpler one, but let's go through Morby method just for a couple of minutes, and then we'll go to dumber down strategies. Okay. Morby method is when a seller wants a really large down payment and you don't want to come up with any money. They want a large down payment, which does happen. You'll run into sellers that go, well, I'm trying to retire. I'd like a big down payment. So this particular seller on this RV park, $3.2 million, says, I want a really large down payment because I'm trying to retire and I want cash in my pocket and I want to be safe. And we go, okay, no problem. So what do I do? Please pay attention. I go out to banks. This is me. Like I said, guys, I told you we were going to talk about creative finance strategies. Morby method is the only one out of all the strategies I'm going to talk about that requires a bank. All the other ones do not. Okay. And this is also a more advanced strategy. We'll talk a little bit more in depth on Wednesday. So, and I will help you determine which strategies to use. Okay. So the seller says, I want $1.9 million down. I then go, I don't want to go raise that money and go get private money lenders and use my own money for that 1.9. So I go to a bank, and that bank gives me a loan based on the percentage of the deal. They say, yeah, we'll give you 70% of the value of that park. No problem. And so the bank wires money to a title company to the tune of $1.9 million. Now, that leaves $1.3 million that I still owe the seller. And so here's what happens. I get a loan for the 1.9. The title company receives that money from the bank. I still owe the seller 1.3 million. And the seller and I write an agreement called a note or a promissory note that says, Pace will pay you this $1.3 million over time. 20 years to be exact. And this 1.9 million goes to the seller. The seller receives this money when we close escrow. So the seller received $1.9 million. And then the seller will receive the other remaining $1.3 million over time. So I have two loans. I have a loan to the bank for 1.9, and I have a loan to the seller for 1.3. Understanding that I'm going to cover this in a lot more depth on Wednesday, and that I also have a lot of this Morby methods training on my YouTube channel, please give me a yes. You understand the basic fundamentals, even though I'm going to go into depth of how the money moves around and all of that kind of stuff. Now, how much money do I have in this deal? And how much money have I brought in from friends, family, and private money lenders? Zero. I have zero money in the deal. I have zero private money lenders in the deal. The seller is letting me pay the $1.3 million over time in seller finance, which we'll cover in the next topic. Okay. And we have the bank that brings 70% loan. Now, the bank did not give me a loan. They gave a loan based on, Alamdar Jimmy says, would you explain a little? You guys remember I said, understanding that I'll cover this on Wednesday in a little bit more depth. Can I get a yes that we understand this? You guys remember that part? People have a hard time just waiting for information. I'm laying the foundation, my friends. I'm laying the foundation. Please be patient. Okay. All right. So that is a higher level creative finance strategy. I have no money in the deal. I did not need a license. I did not, have to qualify for $3.2 million. The asset was what the bank qualified. And the income from that asset is what qualified for that loan, not me. Right? These are called DSCR loans, debt service coverage ratio loans, and we'll talk a lot more about them on Wednesday. Okay, well, if there's 26 strategies in creative finance, and that's the only one that needs a bank, then what are all the other strategies? Well, let's go into the super basic. The most basic version of creative finance is so simple. That most basic version is a strategy called seller finance. Okay. Seller finance is when you want to buy something from a seller and the seller finances the full amount. Okay. We will show you more proof. For the people that showed up early, did I show you proof of the address, proof of the settlement statement that I got paid to buy an RV park and I did not put any money in or ask my friend's family or private money lenders for any money? Did I give you proof of that? Okay. And did I give you proof I closed on this 5 days ago? Did I give you the address of the park, the recording number, the company that did the settlement? You could even call that title company and go, is this a real settlement statement? Is this a real recording number? Have I provided enough proof for the skeptics to say, holy crap, I was completely wrong? You can get paid to buy real estate. Okay, cool. So let's talk about seller finance. And let's talk about how does the seller finance work, okay? Let's talk about a deal that I got paid to buy the deal, and I also got paid 0% seller finance. We'll talk about that deal, but before I jump into that story, let's cover what terms means, okay? When you are buying on anything on creative finance, you are going to work out terms with the seller. What are the first 4 terms you have to determine? The first 4 terms you have to determine are, number 1, purchase price. Pretty simple, right? This is the thing the seller cares about, purchase price. They care about the purchase price. Number 2, down payment. Okay, sellers don't necessarily care about down payment as much as you might think they do. Number 3, okay, purchase price, down payment. Then you've got interest rate. Okay, and then number 4, it is length of time. How long are they going to work that out with you? So length of time. Okay. So let's do a quick example of seller finance. Let's say that I go on Craigslist right now. If I go on Craigslist, which I've done multiple YouTube videos about this, if I go on Craigslist and I find somebody that has an iPhone that they're trying to sell for $400 on Craigslist, what do you think the actual sales price is going to be if they're trying to sell it for 400? Will they sell it for 400, my friends? Yes or no? Are they going to sell it for 400? Yeah, the answer is no. They're going to get offers, right? From low ball cash offers, 300, 250, 220. I'll give you cash right now, $100, right? Well, you are obviously not surprised to hear that this is exactly how real estate works. So when somebody's trying to sell a property for a certain specific price, okay, let's say $110,000, they're going to get hit up. This is the Zillow value. The seller looks at Zillow and says, hey, Kenneth Fuller, wait until we do the Q&A, my friend. Okay. So you've got Zillow that says the value is 110,000. The seller then says, I want 110,000. Well, that's hard for an investor to make money. And so most people are going to offer, if I'm an investor, a cash buyer, I'm going to offer probably about $40,000 to $50,000. Okay. So this is either price or terms. And what I'm going to teach you guys right now is that the person who buys this at 110 with terms or on creative finance makes more money than the person that bought it for $40,000 or $50,000. Okay. Can I get a holy moly in the side chat if you think, wow, that's not possible? Pace can buy this for $110,000 and make significantly more money than this chump who lowballed the seller at $40,000 or $50,000. Okay, so let's talk about a story. Okay, this is called seller finance. So we agree that sellers are going to want more money than what the property is worth on cash. The value of a property on terms is what I can do with it and how I can make money. Okay, so let's talk about what a cash buyer does in this situation. A cash buyer sees that Zillow could sell the house for 110. So the cash buyer says, okay, I got to flip that house and sell it for 110 myself. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to offer 40,000 to the seller. Then I'm going to put 20,000 into the renovation. Then I'm going to have 20,000 of miscellaneous lending expenses, title expenses, miscellaneous expenses. I'm going to be all into this thing $80,000. And then what I'm going to do is um, sorry, I got to move somebody off the screen. Sorry about that, guys. So I'm going to take this $80,000 deal and I'm going to go sell this house for 110 on the market, and I'm going to make a spread of $30,000. Do we all understand that this is how this works for fixing and flipping and wholesalers? We all understand this? And if I'm a wholesaler, I'm going to offer 40K on it and I'm going to sell it to somebody else for 50K. And the person that buys it for 50K is not going to make 30K. They're going to make 20K. Do we all understand that this is how this works? Generally speaking. Okay, cool. Okay. Awesome. Kenneth Fuller's like, I don't care about staying on topic. Kenneth, how late did you show up? You showed up late enough to not pay attention to the rules, I would imagine. Kenneth Fuller, how can I deviate from what we're talking about just to make sure that your copy and paste question is answered right now immediately? Kenneth, how can I help you?
I was just curious how you went to the bank to get the loan.
Kenneth, is this on topic?
What? Well, no, because you're past it. I tried to ask earlier, but the chat was.
Okay, so you're asking a question about the Morby method, which we're going to cover on what day?
Tomorrow?
Wednesday.
Okay.
Guys, look in the side chat. Kenneth needs a spanking. Kenneth, does
Yes,
Kenneth
I do.
pay attention, guys? Yes or no? Is Kenneth a guy that likes to pay attention, or he like to mess around with you, all of you guys? Okay. So this is why we want to stay on topic, my friends. And I do like the side chat going live. So please, my friends, don't ask unrelated questions. It will deviate us. So please, my friends, I love you. I appreciate you. I want to be here for you. I want to help you out, but let's stay on topic. Okay. So let's talk about a real address, and let's give you guys an example of how can I buy that same property for significantly more money if I need to, and make more money than a wholesaler, or make more money than a fix and flipper that's going to buy it at $40,000 or $50,000, right? Cool. So let's go through. I'll pull this up. I've got a property. It starts from a wholesaler actually working with me a number of years ago. I still own this property, so it's a great property to bring up. It's a great property to talk through and show you guys how you can buy a property with no money out of your pocket, no money down, no bank involved, no credit check, and actually get paid to buy the piece of real estate. And it will answer a lot of the questions you have, like, why would a seller do that? Well, because they're not you. And your biggest problem is that you, my friend, are not rich yet. And you, my friend, are not ready to retire yet. You are in growth mode. And so you have different objectives, you have different goals, you have different everything than most sellers. And so what you'll do is you will make questions in your mind that will prevent you from taking action. So one of the rules of creative finance is I want you guys to remember that you should never put your brain in the seller's head. Never put your brain in the seller's head. Just ask the seller what they need, what they want. Okay. All right. So let's look at this amazing thing called a note and deed of trust. I want to ask you guys a couple of questions, and you guys answer me in the side chat. Okay. So this property, you can see the address. Okay. Maybe you can't see the address. Let's see. I think it's 1907. Let's pull it up. I'll let you guys pull it up and see what day I bought it. You guys can pull it up online. Okay, 1906 78th Place in Mesa, Arizona. I'll pull it up online. 1906 South 78th Place. 1906 South 78th Place in Mesa, Arizona. So this works with single family. This works with houses you want to live in. It works with co-living, Section 8. It works with everything, okay? Now, I'm going to show you some really high-end properties, and I'm going to show you some low-end properties. Do I have your permission to not let you get overthinking that I'm showing you a strategy that only works on single family? Do we understand that I'm showing you a strategy that works on everything, but I might be using a single family house as an example of that strategy? Every strategy I show you over the next 4 days will work for every single asset type. Okay. All right. Thank you. So let's go to this house and I will then walk through the promissory note and I explain to you guys what a promissory note is so you understand seller finance a little bit more in depth. But here's a property in 1906 South 78th Place. This property nets me in our pocket a little over $1,200 a month after management, after payment to the seller, everything. And I closed the deal right here in this carport, right underneath the carport. Okay. These are real houses that I own. I have recordings. If you guys are in the private SubTo community, the recording of this conversation with the seller where I pitched the seller on seller finance and how I got the seller convinced to do this deal with me, it's in the SubTo vault. You can go and listen to this. It's about an hour and a half long appointment that I recorded on my phone. But let's talk about the deal. Okay. I would say you guys need to hear a story in order to remember things. I'm the same way. And so we'll go through a story, then I'll show you guys the promissory note and I'll show you the breakdown of the terms. Okay. So I have been in the business since 2013. In about 2016, a lot of people started coming to me because I was making a lot of money and people would just ask me to go on appointments with them. So this lead came from a wholesaler. And this wholesaler says this seller is out. Sorry, guys, my pen is moving faster in my mouth. Out of her mind, he specifically said. She wants way too much money for her property, way over what she's asking, way more than what the property is worth. And I said, let me guess. She's pulling up Zillow and she's looking up the Zillow number and asking for the Zillow number. He says, yes. She found out that the house on Zillow said $100,000 and she wanted $100,000. Cool. Where did he find her? He found her. I'll show you where he found her. He used a software called Deal Sauce. I'm not promoting the software, but I'm going to show you how simple it is to find these deals so you guys can understand it really is just that simple. So we're going to go to Deal Sauce. This is a software that does cost money. Do not worry about buying the software. You don't need to use this software to do this business, but the software does make it a little bit faster. So if we go to property search, we go to residential. I want to find all the people that would be willing to do a seller finance deal in Maricopa County. So I'm going to type in Maricopa County, which is where this house is. And I'm going to go to the filter and I'm going to find absentee owners. I'm going to find board investors, people that have owned these properties for a really long time. And I'm going to pull up high equity, which means they are paid off, usually free and clear. Okay. So high equity, 90,000 properties are absentee, which means they're renting them out and they're board investors. Okay. All right. Got it. Cool. So we've got, or we could even do vacant. That's freaking high. You got vacant, board investor, absentee owner, have high equity, 2,533 opportunities in Maricopa County. If I click on see results, gives me a map of all the properties that are on that list. These are all properties that have absentee owners, properties are vacant, and the seller's houses are paid off free and clear. Did you guys just learn in 30 seconds, holy moly, I've been thinking lead generation is way harder than it really is, and you just realized that you've been overthinking everything and I proved you wrong in 14 seconds? Okay. You guys think you should maybe stick around for 4 days? I probably know more than anybody you know and have learned on YouTube. Okay. All right. Awesome. So let's stay focused, but have I answered the question of where the lead came from? Can I get a yes that you understand where the lead came from? Okay, cool. All right. So the lead came from a software similar to Deal Sauce, and all this wholesaler was doing was finding homeowners who have owned their properties for 15 years or longer, that properties are being rented out. That's called an absentee owner or a board investor. And also finding people that have the house paid off either free and clear or has a lot of equity. And what this wholesaler was doing is lowballing those sellers so he could get a cash offer, wholesale it, and make $10,000 and walk away. That's what wholesalers do. Okay. So I come along the scene. I said, how can I help you? He says, this lady's out of her mind, but I heard that you like to take people on appointments. I said, yes, I'd love to go on an appointment with you. So we went to the house. So this is me, Pace. This is Carol. Actually, her name's not Carol. It's Susan and Dale. I'm so sorry, guys. Another seller is named Carol Leach, but this is Susan and Dale. Okay, Susan and Dale met me at the house. We met underneath the carport that I just showed you a couple of minutes ago. So Susan and Dale meet me at the property. And of course, I had the wholesaler in tow. I just told him, please keep your mouth shut. Don't mess up my appointment. And I asked Susan and Dale, I said, hey, what's kept you from selling the house? And Susan says, well, everybody's lowballing me, but everyone's calling me and I don't understand why I'm getting hammered. Everyone's calling me. I don't know why. Where are they getting all my information? I said, well, Susan, the reason you're getting called so much is because you own this property free and clear. She goes, how do you know that? I'm like, because software, right? We know this data. Investors know this really, really well. So we know that your house is paid off free and clear, and we know that your property is a rental. How do you know that? Well, because software, we just know. And we also know that you've owned this property for 15 plus. How do you know, right? Software shows us where to target our time and our energy, my friends. And she goes, okay, but I keep getting lowballed. And I go, yeah, I think I would probably lowball you too if I was going to give you a cash offer. Now, I already knew from the wholesaler, his name's Tim. Tim told me that Susan wanted $100,000 and Zillow was $100,000. There's no money to be made on a cash offer, basically buying a car off a car dealership. So think about this. If I'm going to go to a seller and give them a cash offer, I need to make sure that if I buy this car, let's say I go to a car dealership and I buy a car at $30,000, the second I drive it off the lot, it's worth 21, right? It's the same thing with real estate. I've got to buy a property low enough that I can go and resell it and make a profit. There has to be a spread, obviously. And so I told her, Susan, I would also offer you a really low offer if I was going to give you a cash offer. She says to me, wait, what do you mean if you were going to give me a cash offer? Are you not going to give me an offer? I go, oh, Susan, I'm definitely giving you an offer, but I'm going to use something called creative finance when I give you this offer. Susan says to me, what is creative finance? I said, I intentionally use these words to pique their interest, to get them interested in what I'm going to say. I said, well, Susan, this is something where we work out terms instead of price. She's like, I still don't know what that means. I go, perfect. Let me give you a story. Now, I gave Susan this story, and it's what sealed the deal, but I give sellers this story to help them understand what creative finance is because they don't understand it with houses. But for some reason, people really understand it with cars or cell phones. It's like, oh, that's basic, right? So I told Susan a true story of a F-150 that I sold back when I was a contractor. It was one of the first creative finance deals I ever did. It was back in 2010. I had an F-150, and this truck was awesome, man. I had my guys driving this truck, and it made me good money. And it was a four-door F-150. The problem is, Susan, this is what me talking to Susan, right here in her carport. This is how I explained creative finance. So when people say, how did you get the seller to do this? How did you? Everything comes down to storytelling. People don't want to be told what creative finance is. They want to understand it through a story. And so when you hear people come to me and they go, I pitched seller finance to the seller, they said, no. I'm like, no, you did not educate them on creative finance. You didn't do that. You just stupidly read the ChatGPT version or Claude version or some technical thing. You did not give emotion behind it. You did not explain it properly. Use my F-150 story and it will change your life. Use this 1,000 times over. I have tens of thousands of students that have quit their jobs, gone on to retire out of their jobs, literally using the F-150 story to explain creative finance to sellers. So this F-150 story is real for me, might not be real for my students, but they can steal the story from me, no problem. I told Susan I had this F-150 and it started overheating, started having problems, kind of like your rental property. You're dealing with tenant turnover, you're dealing with whatever, and the headache just didn't make sense for me anymore. So what did I do, Susan? I took that F-150, I went online, and I found what that F-150 is worth. And I said, where would you go to find out what a vehicle's worth? She says, oh, Kelley Blue Book, kbb.com. And I go, exactly. It's kind of like the Zillow of real estate. You guys see how I'm tying in her exact situation into my story? Can I get a yes that we understand this? So when you guys say something like, how did you get the seller? I got the seller to truly understand, and I threaded what they were going through with what I went through before. Tim Doss says, clever. I actually think, I'm going to say something really quickly. I think if you're doing anything but this, you are being disrespectful. If you are using anything else besides storytelling, you are being disrespectful to your seller because you are not speaking a language that they understand. Can I get a yes? This is not manipulation. This is not me playing stupid. This is me respecting the seller, loving on them, and speaking a language they will understand. It's called respect. And so this is why I've gotten so good at this business, is because I love people and I love storytelling. And so for me, it's easy to get in front of a seller and understand what they need, why they need it, and figure out how to give it to them. And then more importantly, how to spin a story to adapt to their situation. Okay, cool. So I told her, I said, so I've got this vehicle, Susan, and I go on Kelley Blue Book and I find out that this truck is only worth $5,000 in its current condition. And that kind of frustrated me. And I imagine, Susan, you're probably the same way. You went on Zillow and you saw that your house is worth, maybe $82,000. And that frustrated you because you know that the current tenants are paying $1,600 a month. And that really frustrates you that there's good money coming in on this thing, that somebody is going to make a lot of money. And so you are coming to me and saying you want $100,000. And this is why everybody offering anything lower than $100,000 is offending you, is because you feel emotionally attached to this property. Susan says, yeah, it's like you're reading my freaking journal. I'm like, well, Susan, I've been where you are before. So I didn't want to sell my truck for $5,000. So I was really belligerent, Susan. And I took this $5,000 Kelley Blue Book value and I put it on Craigslist for $10,000. So Susan, just like you want 100,000. You obviously haven't sold it for 100,000. Do you think that when I put this truck online for $10,000, you think when I put this on Craigslist, I sold it for $10,000? She goes, probably not. I go, not only did I not sell this for $10,000, I got 0 replies, 0 outreach in 3 months. And so what ended up happening, Susan, is my wife saw the truck parked in the driveway because it's overheating. And she sees she has to drive around it every single day to get into our driveway. So she comes to me after 3 months and she says, hey, sweetheart, that truck that, you've been trying to sell, is there any way you can sell that and get that out of my way? I'm navigating around. I go, sweetheart, I'm not going to sell this thing for $5,000 because even if I put it on Craigslist for $5,000, I'm probably going to get an offer for $3,100, and that it's worth more than that to me. And my wife says, well, why don't you fix it? And I said, because it's not worth me fixing. And my wife says, then why? This is what my wife says. She says, why not accept payments on the truck and sell it for $10,000? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's too freaking genius. So I went to Craigslist, Susan, and I changed one thing on my ad. My ad it said F-150, blah, 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 blah. I changed the blah, 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 Susan, to will take payments. Now, the side chat that is with me today live, do you think I sold this F-150 in 1 hour once I said will take payments? Yes or no? You guys starting to understand what seller finance is? I'm the seller. I'm financing my buyer. That's what seller finance is. I didn't sell this for $10,000, my friends. I had to turn my ad off in 14 freaking minutes because I was getting hammered with messages. I ended up selling this truck for $12,500 with $1,000 down payment and $300 monthly payments on that truck. I also charged them interest, which I did not tell that to Susan because I didn't want Susan to get excited about interest. but I ended up collecting close to $15,000 on that truck because I allowed my buyer to put $1,000 down with no credit check. Now, I know the question people are going to ask, how do you protect yourself? First and foremost is a $5,000 truck. Was I worried if I lost the truck? No, I wasn't. Secondly, I'm not an idiot. I put a tracker on the vehicle. I also insured the vehicle. I know where the buyer is. I understand where he works. What did the buyer want this truck for? And I want you guys to understand something really basic. Some of you guys with a poor mindset, I used to have the poor mindset as well, would say, why would somebody buy that truck? Why would somebody buy that truck for $15,000? That's what a poor person thinks. A rich person thinks is, how do I get that asset to make me money with as little cash up front as possible? And so what this gentleman did is he was a painter. And what he ended up doing, he also had a mechanic on his team. There was a gasket that needed to be fixed. It was like $75, he told me. His name's Juan. By the way, Juan not only paid his payments to me for all those years, but Juan also brought me and my family tamales every Christmas, which is awesome too. So they fixed the truck and the overheating issue. And he ended up telling me about a year into it, he says, I generate $8,000 a month in profit on having a crew drive around and do repairs and paint and do all sorts of things. He says, your $300 payment helps me generate another $8,000 in profit. So you have to ask yourself the question, a poor person would say, wow, he overpaid for that truck. A rich person says he got an asset that produces income with almost nothing out of his pocket. Did he overpay for the vehicle? No, because he did not have to pay cash. He used the truck to produce more money than what the payments make him. Can I get a yes that you guys understand this idea? Because this will run into creative finance so many times that you will say stuff like, why would you do this? Why would you pay $3.2 million full value? I'm like, because the seller let me get into the deal with no money and it produces 20 grand a month. The payment is $6,000 a month. Why would I not do that? So let's talk about now, do you think Susan now understands? Let me ask you a question. Do you think Susan now understands what seller finance is? Do you think Susan now understands what creative finance is? Do you think that I need to get technical and explain the technical stuff to Susan? Or is it easier to explain things through story form to help them understand this? Okay. So there you go. Susan got it. So what did Susan do? Susan says, oh my gosh. And I said, so Susan, I can pay you $100,000 for this house. Okay. Everybody else is coming in and offering you $40,000 to $50,000 on a cash transaction. I can offer you $100,000, but I want a creative terms transaction. Okay. Now, she says, okay. And she says to me, I want $20,000 down payment. I want 8% interest. I was like, okay, well, here's the problem with that, Susan. And I explained it this way. I said, have you ever been on a teeter-totter, right? Somebody sits on this end, somebody sits on this end. She says, yes. I go, okay, great. Well, this needs to be a balanced conversation. If it's not a balanced conversation, then this board will snap in half and the transaction is over. There's no reason for us to continue talking. Do you see how I continue to talk in elementary terms when I'm communicating with people? I'm not talking high level. I'm not trying to one up her. I'm not trying to use sales strategy. I'm explaining things logically, but also in a way that's easy to understand. And so what I told Susan, and I say this thousands of times a year, is Susan, right now, you are going to launch me off this property because you want all of these things that outweigh your benefit. You want a high purchase price. We've already established that, right? You want $100,000. You also are now asking for $20,000 down on a very high purchase price. Susan, I'm already paying you $40,000 to $60,000 more than anybody else. And now you're asking for a high down payment. And then on top of that, you're asking for 8% interest. Susan, you are killing this deal and you're going to snap this board in half. What I would suggest you do is let's balance the conversation a little bit. Let me win on things that are not as important to you. It seems like the most important part of this to you is that you sell this at a very high purchase price. So let's balance this. You want a high purchase price, right? She says yes. And I go, okay, cool. So let's make sure that your purchase price is $100,000. Do we agree that you're getting $40,000 or $50,000 more than I'm giving to everybody else? She says yes, right? See how I'm getting yeses from her? Then I said, cool. Then what I want is to counteract that is I want 0 down payment. In fact, I want you to pay for closing costs. So I don't have to pay for closing costs. She goes, okay, that's okay. I'll do that. But here's what I want. I do want a down payment. I really do want a down payment. I go, okay. Then if you want a down payment, and we just kind of went back and forth. Okay, went back and forth, and we were trying to figure out how do we balance this a little bit. And here's what we worked out. We worked out $110,000 purchase price. And when I closed escrow, the day we bought it, I put 0 down. And I give her 0% interest on my monthly payment. She also paid the closing costs. And here's the other thing that I thought was a benefit. She didn't know it was a benefit to me. I gave it to her. I took over the tenant. So I said, you don't even have to talk to the tenant. I will deal with the tenant. So I took over the tenant. That was a benefit to her. I got 0 down, 0% interest, and she paid closing costs. Now, the down payment really pushed. She was like really adamant about the down payment. So what I did is I structured a down payment with her. I said, here's what we'll do. The day we close escrow, this is the terms. Purchase price, you win on the purchase price. I'm going to give you $10,000 higher on the purchase price, but I want to do 0 down the day we close escrow and 0% interest on my payments. She says, okay. I told her also, you need to pay for closing costs. She goes, okay. I will take the tenants over. She says, okay, cool. Now, what I did is I said, let's do $110,000 purchase price. And I will then pay you $5,000 in 6 months and another $5,000 in 6 more months after that. Can I get a yes in the side chat? You are following me so far. I've got more to unveil, but can I get a yes in the side chat? You are following me so far. Do you see how simple this really is? It's a win-win. How do we both win in the situation? What do you want? What do I want? How do we balance this? Okay, it's all it is. Somebody says good info. Guys, it's not just good info. It's life-saving, life-changing info. Okay? So I worked at a deal where I gave her $5,000 in 6 months, $5,000 in 6 months after that. I want to teach you guys something really powerful because you're going to go, well, you gave her a down payment. Okay, you tell me if I gave her a down payment. Let's look at the closing. Let's look at the settlement statement. Let's look at my actual terms of my promissory note, which is recorded at the county recorder's office. This was closed March 31st, 2020. Here's the address. Dale Poyer, Susan Poyer. There's their names. What day did I close escrow on this property, my friends? March 31st, 2020. What day did I give my first down payment? You can see it right here. $5,000. I wonder if I can do it. Okay. Do you guys see the day I gave the first $1,000 or $5,000 and the second $5,000? Okay. How much is my monthly payments? Right here it says, it's the second paragraph down here. It says, in regular monthly installments of $375 or more, which means I can pay more if I want. And how much is my interest rate? $375 per month. How much is my interest rate? You can see it right here. It says at the rate of 0% per annum from close of escrow. Okay. So how much is the property renting for? The property is already tenant in place and it is renting for $1,600 a month. Okay. I pay her $375. I also pay another, let's say $225 in miscellaneous expenses and property management every single month. Guess how much money I earn every single month net And if I had to give her $5,000 in 6 months, 6 months of that, how much money did I have? Did I come out of pocket to buy this real estate? Yes or no? Did I have to borrow money from a friend or family member? Yes or no? Was there private money involved in this? Yes or no? Did I use a bank? Did I use credit? Did I use any credit card whatsoever? Did I borrow money from my neighbor? Is there such thing as a zero down, 0% seller pays closing costs type of deal? Yes or no? Ante says no. If you are saying no to this, you should just leave. You should just leave. There's no hope for you in my world, right? Somebody just showed you, all right? Somebody just showed you how to do a deal where the seller pays for closing costs, you take over a tenant, you're cash flowing immediately on day one, you have no repairs, no renovation, no bank, 0% interest. 0% interest. Irene says you really liked you. Why did she like me? Because I respected her. And I respected you. Okay. I respected her enough to educate her on how to get a deal done. Does that make sense? I think a seller should not like you if you disrespect them and you're just trying to one up them. Lynn says, did you change the rent? Yeah, we rent that property now for $1,800 a month. We still own it. Now, here's another question. Did I overpay for that property? I paid $110,000 for something that was on Zillow for $100,000. Did I overpay for the property? No. Only an uneducated, traditionally financed person would say, yeah, you overpaid. No, I didn't. I didn't pay anything. I literally have zero recourse. I have zero loan in my name. I have no credit check. I have no recourse. I paid $0 for that. So did I overpay? I would have to pay something to overpay for anything. I didn't pay for anything. Okay. And the reality is, let's look up that house today. Guys, this is how I buy most of my real estate and most of my businesses. I'm buying a $6 million landscape company right now, same exact way. So let's look up 1906. Let's see what its Zillow value is today. Zillow probably says it's worth 190. Okay, 225. Tell me I overpaid for this property. It's worth $115,000 more than what I paid for it. And I've been cash flowing every single month. And I've paid 0% interest. Okay. David says, how much were you collecting in rent per month? David, we covered that, my friend. It was $1,600. Remember the $1,600 per month? Guys, do I move too fast or am I moving the correct speed? Yes or no? David says sometimes. Okay. How many people feel like I'm going the perfect speed? Give me a yes. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to pause here in a minute and I'm going to do some Q&A, but it needs to specifically be about this deal or seller finance. Can I get a yes that we agree we're going to stay on topic on the seller finance questions? Yes or no? Okay. All right. Carly, if you could, let's let people raise their hands for a little bit and we'll talk about this deal specifically. And it needs to be seller finance related. If it's off topic, if it's about your divorce or about your thing, I'm going to kick you off and we'll let somebody else ask a question. Okay. Daniel Herrera, how you doing, man? Please, guys, you have to understand. Go ahead, Daniel.
Hey, Pace. Thank you for having me today.
No problem. What do you got?
Great info. So I got the whole finance thing. The only thing is I guess that I'm still struggling with is if I don't have the 100K to give her to pay for the property, how do I go about that? How did you do that?
Did I have 100K?
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, how did that process go?
Bro, did you show up halfway through?
No, I mean, I guess I'm not really understanding if that's the case.
Okay, you're definitely not understanding. I gave her $0. Okay, we're gonna teach you about promissory notes. Okay, this is the stuff that they don't teach. Thank you. Here's the question you should be asking.
Okay.
Okay. Because you're not asking the right question. You're sending me off a direction, and that's not your fault. You just don't know. I'm going to teach you. The
Right.
question you should be asking is this: Pace, I know you said multiple times you didn't come out of pocket any money. You didn't pay anything for the property. In fact, you said it really emphatically, like really strongly. You said you
Yeah.
didn't come up with any money. And so I definitely know you didn't come up with any money, which means I definitely know I can do this because I don't have any money.
Right. Right.
I guess I don't understand what seller finance means.
Right.
Okay, so you showed up really late. Did you listen to the F-150 story?
No, no, I didn't.
Bro, you showed up to a moving train and you asked us where we're going?
My apologies for that.
Okay, guys, no more of that. Guys, I'm gonna give you some etiquette. Don't show up to a free training 2 hours late and then ask where the train is moving. You know what I'm saying? Like the train's already left the station 2 hours ago, and you catch up with the train and you jump on and you ask everybody, where are we going? That's essentially what you're doing, dude.
Right.
And so what you're doing is you're asking me a question about something I literally answered 15 minutes before you showed up. Do you think that that's appropriate? Yes or no?
Probably not. No.
Would if you're trying to train thousands of people and you know thousands of people are going to rewatch this in the future, would you want to answer the question that I already previous answered?
No, I guess that's a waste of time.
Bro. The challenge is I want to answer the question. And I just feel like you showed up an hour and a half late, and I want to answer the question because I really care about people. But I just want to give you a tip for life. Okay. Your parents taught you that it was okay to show up late. Somehow, some way, somewhere along the way, somebody did not smack you on the wrist and say, it's inappropriate to have commitments that you show up late to, and you've allowed that to persist in your life. Period. End of story. How you do anything is how you do everything, my friend. So when you show up late, you're going to miss out on things. Okay.
Understood.
Okay. So do you have a phone? I'm going to guess you have an
Yes.
Android. Do you have an Android?
No, no, I don't.
Okay. What do you have?
I got an iPhone.
Okay. What kind of iPhone?
The 13.
Okay, cool. So you have an iPhone 13. Okay. At some point, are you going to upgrade that?
At some point, yeah.
Holy crap, bro. Do you want to play a game with me right now or not? Do you want to, obviously I'm looking for the answer. Yes. Help me
Yeah.
out, bro.
Right, right.
Okay. Dog, where do you live? I need to find you and give you a hug. Somebody needs to give you a hug in your life.
No, I said yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You are going to upgrade this. What do you think you could sell this for today?
250 maybe.
Okay, 250,000 or $250. Okay, so Daniel, I don't have $250 to pay you. So I'm going to offer you seller finance. I'm going to ask you to give me seller finance. Could I technically, I'm not saying you're going to say yes or no to this, but could I technically offer you $25 per month for 10 months to pay for that?
Right, yes.
Okay. How much money, you give me the phone and I take that phone and I go do Uber Eats, let's say, to pay for that $25 monthly payment, could I technically do that too?
Yes.
Okay, cool. You're following me here. I love this.
Okay, I see. I see
How
where
much
you're going with
money?
this.
How much money do I have to give you up front? What's my down payment to you?
250.
Dog, I don't give you a down payment if it's $25
you said
a
down
month
payment.
for
I'm
10
sorry.
months.
Yeah. My bad.
How much money did I give you up front to start the payments?
25.
I did not, because my month has not started. What's my down payment? It's $0 down
Zero,
payment.
zero, zero.
You following me?
Right, right.
So you give me the phone. I start making payments to you the following month. I go out to Uber Eats and I start earning money so I can afford that payment to you for $25. Do I need money to start doing this with you? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. So that is called a zero down deal. Did I have any money I gave you?
No, no, no.
Okay. I go earn the money on Uber Eats and then I make a $25 monthly payment to you. You receive your $250 over 10 months. Does that make sense?
Right, yes. Yes, it does.
You are the seller of that phone, correct?
Yes.
You seller financed me because you financed me $25 monthly payments for 10 months. Does this make sense?
I see. I see where you're going. Okay.
That is called seller finance. Do I need money, credit, down payments to get started on something like this? Yes or no?
No, 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 no.
Okay, so could I do this on a house where a seller says, give me $100,000 a month or $110,000, pay me $375 per month, zero down, 0% interest, and I could take over the tenant. The tenant is paying me $1,600. So I receive $1,600 from the tenant. Okay.
I see.
And then I pay the seller $375 per month from their own deal I bought from them.
Oh, I see. Okay, I get it.
So the tenant that lives in the house pays me $1,600. I
Okay.
pay $375 to the seller. I pay $225 in property management, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I walk away with $1,000 net in my pocket on this deal. Did I give the seller an upfront down payment? Yes or no?
No.
Over the course of 20 years, I want you to look at this document, my friend.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to show this to you again. You showed up so late. Somebody should karate chop you in your life. Is that a woman in the background?
Yeah, that's my mom.
You need to tell your mom to beat your butt for being late to this today.
Okay.
Hey, Mom, I just took a man's time that's been working his guts out this last 13 years to learn how to teach in a way that people can understand. And I had the audacity to show up late and ask a question that he already answered in depth. Tell your mom that, and she's going to karate chop you so hard. Okay, so do you see this agreement? This is called a note or promissory note. This is my agreement with the seller. What's the
Okay.
seller's name? Can you read this?
Yeah, Dale and Suzanne Poyer.
Okay, Dale and Susan Poyer. How much is my monthly payment to them?
$375.
And how much is my interest to them?
0%.
And when will it be paid off completely?
2040. March 1st, 2040.
You see, I have payments over time. That is how I come up with the $110,000 is over time payments.
Okay, I see.
Do you now fully understand this?
I fully understand.
Okay, so let's ask that question again. I'm going to ask you the question. Daniel, where do I come up with the $100,000 if I don't have $100,000?
Seller finance.
Yes. Did I come up with $100,000?
No.
No. Do you need to come up with $100,000?
No.
No. Here's what I want you to repeat after me. Pace, I will never be late to class again.
I will never be late to class again, Pace.
Okay. Thank you, brother. Did I answer your
Appreciate
question?
it. You did. Thank
Okay.
you. And I appreciate the ass whooping.
Hey, you know what, bro? That ain't an ass whipping. That was me I was jesting and kidding with you. Your mom needs to give you an ass whipping right away. In fact, I should talk to your mom and bark at her for not being madder at you when you were growing up. Alec Garcia, what's up, brother? How you doing? Alec Garcia, what do you got?
Hey, what's up, bro? Appreciate you for answering me. I just wanted to give a little bit of context. This is a first property that I kind of just wanted to get your input on. This is my very first property.
Okay, so does this have anything to do with what I'm talking about?
Yes, yes.
Okay, ask the question first before I let you give me context, because I have a sneaky suspicion you want me to break down a deal for you. That's not a question that's on topic of what I just talked about.
I just wanted to see how you would break down this
Yeah, has
deal.
nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I love you. I appreciate you. I want to train you, but that is not the topic. Somebody watching in the future is going to go, how did you let these people ask these questions? Has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. Let's think about people watching in the future. Will it help them understand what I just broke down? Yes or no?
I mean, I would think so, but I mean, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Okay, guys, do me a favor. I'm going to be really rude to Alec Garcia. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to mute him, disable his talking, because I've already gone through and answered people's questions. I'm going to lower everybody's hand. Please raise your hand if you have a question specifically about the deal I just talked about or seller finance in general. Don't bring up a deal you have and have me comp the property. Don't ask me if you showed up late. Please, for the love of mercy, do not ask me a question unrelated to what we're talking about. I have people watching this in the future. Yes, John Patterson, how can I help you?
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Good. What do you got? How can I help you?
I was actually trying to write down the end of what you were just showing with the $1,600 payment flowing through the the tenant per month, and then you paying 375. I didn't get the numbers below that. Like for how you're paying and cash flowing. Do you understand the
Okay, so how
question?
did I come up with the $375 a month?
Well, no, I understand that, and that's over through 2040. I get that, and you're making, well, we're making 1,600, now you're making 1,800. But I missed the numbers below that actually show how you get your perfect amount of cash flow back.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you this is a very overthinking question because it's not going to help you in your journey, but I'm going to answer the question for you regardless. Tenant pays me $1,600, right?
Right.
Cool. So I receive $1,600. I do not manage my own properties. Somebody else
Correct.
does. And so I have a payment to Dale and Susan for $375. You follow that portion, right?
Of course.
Cool. I have $225 that I pay towards property management and
That's so what I
insurance.
miss.
Cool. Got it. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. All right. Adalberto Ordanez. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. How can I help you?
Yeah, Pace, thanks a lot, man. Pace, in regards to this, I think I get it. Now, how about the deed? Sometimes, they don't want to do the warranty deed or transfer under your name until you pay. How do you deal with that? Would that
I
affect
deal
the
with that
negotiation?
through a different creative finance strategy, which I can talk about tomorrow. But this is a great question. Thank you. So for people that don't understand what your question is, this is a great question. Do you think I'm good at building trust with my sellers?
Yes.
Okay. If you have this problem, it's because you are not building trust. Period. End of story. You're a horrible salesperson. You're not great at telling stories. You're explaining strategy. You're saying words that are too complicated, and you're not building trust with the seller. Essentially, what you are asking, and for people that are newer, for me to dumb this down, when I buy this property from Dale and Susan, I took over somebody who's in the property. That's a T for tenant. I took over the tenant. I'm the buyer. I'm in blue. And when I bought the property, I took over what is called the deed. The deed is the certificate of ownership that Dale and Susan transferred into my name. Okay. And you can see right here that the deed was transferred. I'll give you guys proof of this. This is where the seller transferred the deed into my name right here. You can see it was transferred to PCGS, which is Pace, Cody, Greg, and Scott, my partners at the time. We bought out Greg and Scott's, just Cody and I own this property. And the trustee transferred it, Magnus Title, and Dale and Susan Poyer are the ones that assigned the deed of trust to me. So I received the deed of trust. This is the escrow number, and I now own the property because of this fancy dancy document. Okay. So this is a deed of trust. All right. Or this is the mortgage document, actually, basically. Okay. So the seller transferred the deed into my name. This is all the fancy paperwork that show you that everything was transferred, etc. What Adalberto is asking is, what happens if the seller is too afraid to give you the deed? Well, here's the quick answer. Quick answer is you did not build trust. Okay. 2, you did not tell story in order to build trust. You just told the seller, yeah, I'll buy it for this dollar amount and do this down payment and do this thing. There's no trust. There's no story. There's no understanding of what they're trying to accomplish. And when all you do is come at somebody with sales without actually understanding where they're coming from, what's interesting is the number one question I was hoping somebody would ask me is, why would the seller let you do this? Besides the fact that I'm giving them a way higher purchase price, why does the seller want to sell the property in the first place? Nobody's asked that question. Okay, so in this particular situation, the tenant is a family member that is renting from them, and that tenant is frequently paying them late, taking advantage of their kindness. And what ultimately happened is when I found this out, because that's more important than the deal, right? The bunnies, we'll talk about the bunnies on like day 2 or day 3, is that the goal and the motivation of the seller is more important than the price and understanding what does Dale and Susan want to do. What did Dale and Susan want to do? Dale and Susan wanted to travel the country without worrying about this property They wanted to travel the country in their RV, and they wanted to see the country without worrying about tenants and family members being mad at them for collecting rent. And they were going to Thanksgiving parties and Christmas parties, and they had their tenant, who's a family member, going to their other family members and saying, oh, Dale and Susan are so greedy. They don't ever give us leeway on the rents and da, 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 da. Can you see how the stress is being built for the seller? And as I explain my deal to them, I'm explaining, Susan, like, think about this. You will literally never have to worry about this. You don't have to worry about evicting them. You don't worry about calling them anymore. You just say, hey, I sold the property. You have a new owner. Here's his contact information. Disconnect. And that solves your problem, Susan. Do you see why I care more about the seller's situation than the stupid sales strategy of, let me say, a one-liner and explain creative finance? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Can I get everybody else to understand this? I know this is a thing that we should not have to cover in depth, but it's important if you're new, that understanding why the seller needs to sell is important to the deal as anything else. It's where trust, rapport, and when you pitch them and you ask them, sell this property to me and put the deed in my name, you have to find the pain. So is anybody curious how I came up with the $375 monthly payment? Nobody's asked that question. Here's the answer to how I figured that out. I'm going to say this. Justin Dean says it's just math. No, it's not. It's not. The reason why I came up with $375 is because I'm not an idiot that is assuming that the seller wants me to be mechanical. The seller wants me to truly understand them. Why are they selling? How can I help them? How can I solve their bunnies, their problems, right? And so trust, story, rapport, all of these things are more important than anything else. Now, if you can't overcome this, Adalberto, you can use the lease options, dating contracts, or you can do agreements for sale. All of those satisfy that problem. But I don't want to teach you those strategies right out of the gate because you will go to the path of least resistance. Meaning, ooh, I can buy this property and I can control this asset without doing a seller finance deal and requiring the seller to put the deed in my name. Ooh, I'll just do that. And then what will happen is my students, when they haven't gone through the full training, they will go directly to the easier strategy, which is lease options, agreements for sale, or dating contracts, which you don't know much about yet. In fact, you don't know anything about agreements for sale, and you know nothing about dating contracts. Would you say I'm correct on that, Adalberto?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay. This is the problem with creative finance is that people talk about knowing creative finance. They don't. They learn it all from me, and then they go out on YouTube and they become my students and they go start their own creative finance channel. I've created more strategies of creative finance, like dating contracts. I created that. Morby method. I created that. These are answers to the question you have of like, how do I overcome this particular objection? The first thing you got to understand is you are trying to build trust, rapport, et cetera, so that objection doesn't come up in the first place. Make sense?
It does. Yes.
Okay. So the answer to the $375 and how I came up with that is I asked Dale and Susan, she says, well, what kind of monthly payment can you make? And I go, well, Susan, my goal is to make as little of a monthly payment as I can so I can make money on the property and deal with the tenants. You see how I said that? I have to deal with the tenants. It reminds her of the pain she doesn't have to deal with anymore. Understanding why they're doing what they're doing helps you structure the deal and also helps you seal the deal. So I said, well, what are you guys trying to do when you sell? Like, let's say you sell the property, you're done. You know, why are you selling? Why not just keep this? This thing makes money. She says, we want to travel. We don't want to worry about collecting payments. This is a family issue, blah, 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 blah. By the way, you'll think, oh, this is rare. No, it's not. Every single deal we do, thousands and thousands of deals we do, there's always an underlying problem. You just can't see it online. And your broker or real estate agent, they also don't know it either. And so your job is to dig a little bit deeper. And that's the fun part about this business. I want you to write down the word deal detective. You got to be a deal detective in this business. So Dale and Susan says, well, we're going to travel around the country. And I go, cool. How much does, a monthly rental of like an RV pad cost you when you guys are traveling around the country? What do you think her answer was? I said, what is your average cost to rent a spot to travel around the country on a monthly basis? What does that cost? What do you think her answer was? $375. $375. So when you guys say stuff like, oh, it's just math. No, it's not. It's understanding your seller. And this is why you're going to suck at this business, because you don't like people. Not literally. I'm just saying if you don't like people, you're going to have a hard time with this business. Okay. So I love people and I love understanding why they're doing what they're doing. And I go, great. How do I figure this out? And when I figured out the 375, I was like, oh, I can make $1,000 cash flow. I can structure the down payment. Okay. David Marnell says, yeah, but it had to work for you to have a monthly profit after paying her. Yes. Yes. Why not give her 400?
So please,
Yes.
you had the 20-year term, but besides that, you made the $375 agreement with her.
Yeah, it worked out mathematically after the down payment, like the payment after the $10,000, it worked out mathematically after that.
Okay.
But 375 was the number. It was like, I think it was like 21 months total. And we ended up taking, it was like part of the down payment. It was something weird. It was like a couple of months off, but we just kind of made it simple and did it for 20 years.
Hey, pays, and then if they're too old and they're saying like 20 years, I won't even enjoy the money. Can you do a balloon and then refinance 7-8 years down the road? Pay
Yeah, I
out,
mean, the average amount of time you're going to keep a property is going to be 7 years anyway, right?
Okay.
Okay, so we're like, there's a lot of people in here who don't even know what a balloon is. So let's talk about maybe what a balloon is for a minute. A balloon is, you'll get a lot of sellers that will say stuff like, well, I don't want to sell and give you 20 years because I want to, receive my money before I die. I'll go, okay, great. What are you going to do with the money before you die? I'll give you guys another really great deal, another great structure of a deal that is similar. This one doesn't have a balloon. So this has no balloon, but let's talk about what a balloon is. A balloon is when the seller says, let's say Dale and Susan say, hey, I'll give you 20-year payments, but that's what the $375 is based on. But I want you to pay off my balance in 7 years. So let's do the math on that. If I bought the house for $110,000, I'm giving them a $10,000 down payment from my cash flow. They are seller financing $100,000 at $375 for 20 years. Cool. So in 7 years, how much will I owe them based on a 20-year payment? Let's do the math. There's no interest on this deal, so obviously that's pretty simple. Let's go 375 times 12 times 7. So that means I will pay off $31,500 over 7 years, which means I will obviously owe $68,500. So essentially the seller says, hey, I'll base my monthly payments with you off of 20 years, but after you own it for 7 years, I want you to give me the balance of $68,500. This is called a balloon, okay? A balloon, because it pops. Now, how do I satisfy a balloon? I could do a couple of things. A, I could do something stupid and pay off the balloon with cash. That's stupid. Nobody does that. B, I could sell the property. Okay, so for example, let's say hypothetically, I have a balloon on the property, which I don't, but let's say I have a balloon on the property today. I've owned the property now for 6 years. The property is worth $225,000. Could I technically sell the property right now for $225,000, pay off their balance of $68,500 that I still owe my seller, the bank, and walk away with $160,000 in profit on the deal? Yes or no? Okay. So I could sell the property, or C, I could also do a refinance. Guys, could I do a refinance on this property and pull money out of the deal and pay them off? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So do I have 3 or 4 different options to pay this all the way off? and satisfy my balloon? Yes, I do. But the reality is if you have a problem with convincing a seller to do this, and Nikisha says, how do you know what to negotiate? That's a different topic for later in the training. I'm just trying to explain to you guys what high-level seller finance is. Have we taught you, how many people feel like, holy crap, I got my value in the last 2 hours. This has already been highly valuable to you. Showing you real addresses, real promissory note, public information, proof that I'm doing these deals, both $3.2 million deal I closed a couple of days ago, all the way down to a deal I closed 6 years ago, a little teeny trailer. Like you can do this on any type of asset. Okay. Any type of asset. Okay. Has it been super valuable? You feel like you need to be here for the next 3.5 days? Cool. It is clear that you are training us to understand that the first priority is understand the seller need and adjust your approach accordingly. Yes. And also you need to understand that the deal and the seller determine the strategy, not you. The deal, that would be the property, where it's located, price, what it looks like, is it an HOA? All of those things determine the strategy, not you. You do not determine the strategy. Okay. And a lot of people are like, how do I find deals? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that mostly tomorrow. Like, where do the deals come from? How do I filter them? But in order for us to understand that, we want to make sure that we understand all of the creative finance strategies that we can utilize so that as a lead comes in, if a seller has a house paid off, I'm going to do seller finance. If a seller doesn't have a house paid off, I'm going to do subject to, and we'll talk about that next. But I want to do a little bit more Q&A. Adalberto, have I answered your question specifically and I've helped you clarify this?
Yes, sir. Definitely. Thank you, Pace.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Let me disable that. Carly Flom, how can I help you?
No. Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for taking my call. I'm very excited to be here. I just wanted to get a general understanding and just recap that whole scenario that you had. So, because I'm kind of going through the same thing right now, I'm trying to buy an RV park. So in your scenario, she had $100,000 she was asking, and say the only other buyer say would go to 70,000. So she was asking over 30,000, let's say, and you come in and you end up getting it for 110,000, but with no interest or down payment. So is the benefit to that, even if you're overpaying that in the long run, is this like a cash is king type scenario? You get to keep your money.
Okay, so let's correct the question a
it.
little bit, because what would you rather do? Would you rather come up with cash up front
No.
and pay
No.
$50,000? Like let's just think about this for a second. Everybody else in the side chat. This is the problem with traditional thinking. Who overpaid for the property? The guy who promised payments of $375 based on a 20-year loan at 110 grand, or the dummy that paid $60,000 in cash? Which one paid more money? The cash person, because they're out of pocket. They paid 60,000, 70. They're dumb, lazy, uneducated. Dumb is the wrong word. Lazy or uneducated. Uneducated is probably the better word. The person that overpaid for the property, I paid the appropriate amount because I utilized terms. The value of a property with creative finance is not the purchase price. The value of the property is based on what I can do with as little money as possible out of pocket. That's the value of a creative finance deal. So I would rather all day long, 0% interest, 0 down, seller pay for closing costs, than pay $60,000 out of my own pocket. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I wanted to make sure.
I want to make sure that we get rid of that overpaying thing. Guys, the terminology of the vernacular, let's get rid of the overpaying statement. I'm underpaying for the property. Dramatically underpaying for the property. It's worth $225,000 today. Here's a good question. If I got that deal under contract, okay, Carly, 110, seller paid for closing costs, 0 down payment, 0% interest, cash flows $1,000 a month, and I assigned it to somebody, meaning here's the contract, somebody else buy it. Do you think I could assign that deal for $20,000? Meaning somebody else pays me 20 grand just to buy the deal I bought.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. How many people would buy a deal 0% interest and pay me 20 grand as an assignment fee? So you see how I still underpaid. Like somebody else would have paid $20,000 out of pocket for my no money out of pocket contract that they could take over. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Okay. I know that's not your question, but I want to be very clear. I did not overpay for anything. I still underpaid based on terms.
Okay. No,
Okay,
it makes sense.
So what's your
I
question?
really appreciate it. Hmm?
That was not
No,
your question. So what is your question?
I was just looking for clarification that I was tracking this the right way. And that was exactly what I
You have a
needed.
particular situation going on. What's your particular situation going on that you have?
Oh, it's an RV park. He wants 1.7 million for it. It's not, I'm coming up with like 1.5 to 1.6. And he's agreed to seller financing. He wasn't open to it at first. So I've gotten that step, but I'm kind of lost at where to go from here.
Okay, so you're trying. Here's the reason why you're lost. You're trying to do this on your own, aren't you?
Yes.
Stop doing that. You're going to fail. I'm telling you right now, you're going to fail. You're trying to do everything for free. Is that correct?
No, I mean, I'm a SubTo member.
Then why are you bringing this deal to me?
I'll bring it to you.
Do you know what this training is? Do you think that today is a SubTo training?
Yes. No.
This is a free YouTube training.
Okay.
This is like low level training. You should not even be, if you're in SubTo, you should not even be in here.
I just started like a week ago. So I'm
okay,
still going
you should be in the RV park semester, the training that's like really high level. Okay. And you should be working with RV park buyers in the community, not being on this training.
Okay. I'm trying to get there.
This is like kindergarten, basic YouTube, basic stuff. All right. Can I give you an answer though? And I'll give you a good step, like next step. The next thing that I would do if you're in SubTo is I would go into one of our underwriting Zooms that we do every single day. Okay. And what I would do is I would find a buyer in Owners Club, somebody that is buying deals. You're going to say, how do I find Owners Club? Is that correct?
No, I found Owners Club.
Okay. So if you found Owners Club, those are your buyers. And you have about 50 Owners Club members that will buy that RV park with you. So the next step is choose 2 or 3 of them to look at the RV park with you. And those 2 or 3 people will get on a call with the seller and help you negotiate the deal and get the deal done. Okay. That's your next step. Well, you're going to say, well, I want to get it ready for them. Here's where we find the puzzle pieces when we're doing a deal. The seller is trying to sell the park for $1.7 million. Why? What is his reason why he's selling?
His broker told me he knows it's overpriced, but he's an Etsy seller, so he goes high and then works his way down.
Okay, cool. That doesn't give us the reason why
he's retiring, though. He is retiring.
Okay, cool. So he's retiring, which is still not a deep enough reason for him to sell. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this part right here, the depth of your questioning is not deep enough. And so you're going to have a hard time structuring the deal. So for example, let's say that the seller says, I want $1.7 million because I'm anticipating that I have to pay a large amount of capital gains tax. And so I'm trying to get as much as I possibly can. Okay, well, that helps me understand what his motivation is and what he's fearful of and where his pain is we need to do a zero down deal or we need to do a Morby method deal so you receive no money out of your in your pocket and you don't have a capital gain situation. Okay, or let's say the seller says, I have to have a chunk of money because I'm developing another park. Okay, well, I already know it's a Morby method because he needs a chunk of money. Let's say the seller says, I'm truly retiring, not fake retiring. I'm truly retiring. I don't know how to manage and delegate a park, which is common. That's pain that you haven't gotten to yet. If he says, I can't manage the park, it's overwhelming. Like I bought a park a couple of months ago and the seller says, I'm 5 years of owning this park and I have to drive 5 hours every week there and back from Bozeman to Kalispell. I am so sick of this park and I'm a horrible manager and I've not been able to grow rents because I just can't give it the time and energy it deserves. Okay, cool. So it's not so much that you need the money. It's that you want to get rid of the headache. Do you see how the reasoning actually changes which way I'm going to go?
Yes.
So with Eric, that
Mhm.
seller, I bought the property for $5 million and he gave me 30-year terms at 3% interest because he wasn't really looking for the today money. He just didn't want to pay taxes, didn't want to deal with the headache. And he's actually happy with the $18,000 payment I pay him every single month. So the situation with the seller is going to be where your terms come from. So when people go, can you give me an underwriting sheet? If you are underwriting the park before you understand the reason why the seller's selling, you are failing. Failing. Do not underwrite a park. Do not comp a property. Do not look at a single thing until you've completely answered the question of, if I buy the property, how can I help the seller at the maximum level? The structure is how you help that seller. Morby method, large down payment. Seller finance, no money down, tax. Seller finance or hybrid is something that helps out, and adding a balloon to it could satisfy something else. Dating, every single situation, you are not going to be able to figure that out until you get an owners club member on the call, or have me call the seller sometime later this week, or the broker.
Okay. How do I do that?
Wow, I gotta do a better job educating brand new SubTo members not to come into these free trainings. These free trainings are like so low level. I don't like doing live calls for the free training, and the reason being is because I don't know the people on here, and they will go around your back and they'll go around my back when I call a seller, and they will do it. It's happened thousands of times. It's like the free YouTube people. I used to do live calls. I'll give you a good example. I used to do live calls on YouTube all the time. And one time I'm on this call with this dude. I've got him on speakerphone, and the seller on the other side of the phone goes, "Do you have me live streaming on YouTube right now?" I'm like, "No." Somebody from the live stream figured out what property I was calling on and started texting the seller. Like, that kind of stuff happens all the time. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to email Carly. She's running the live stream right now at pacemorby.com. And she'll help coordinate me to make a call during a private SubTo only Zoom where I can actually see your face and we can build a relationship, and I can make that call, and she'll help coordinate that. Carly at pacemorby.com. Can you see her email on the screen?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. That's where, like, this is like newbie beginner training. You, my friend, should have somebody else making the call at this point. You've already done your job.
Okay.
This is why you joined SubTo.
Yes.
If you are
Definitely.
not asking for help, you should not have joined SubTo, because I don't have a coaching course. I do not have a mentorship. You have a community of people that will do this deal with you. Where's this deal located?
South Minnesota.
Okay, cool. So I would have you talk to, I won't say their name because that's the only person you're going to go to. I'd rather you network with 40 or 50 people in Owners Club, but I have the perfect person that will buy the deal. 1.7 million is too small for me at this point, but I can help you make the call. I can help you extract the pain, and I'll do that in a private setting of SubTo only. And then what I'll do is I'll put you in touch with the buyer that I know is a vetted buyer that will buy the deal and to carry the transaction all the way through. Now, what will they do is if this is your first RV park, you could either wedge yourself into some small ownership, or you could just assign the deal and make some money on a finder's fee. You sound like you're in a phase of your life where you'd probably want a little bit of equity. Am I right?
Yeah, equity and income, I guess, an even.
Okay, so you could have a choice of a little bit of equity and a little bit of finder's fee, or you could just go, I want a finder's fee with no equity, or you could say, I want equity with no finder's fee, and you get, obviously there's a balance there, right? Good example is I just paid somebody $90,000 in SubTo to bring a park to me. They took no equity in. I gave them an option. I said, if you want some equity, I'll give you 10% equity in the deal and a $20,000 finder's fee. And they're like, no, I just want the full finder's fee, and I'll find you another one. I'll take equity in that one. So you can pick and choose what you want based on what you and the buyer figure out, but I'll make the next call for you. Carly will coordinate so we can make that in a private SubTo Zoom. And I will help you get through the next stage. I'll provide my credibility. I'll talk to the broker and help get past a lot of their objections and help explain and really carry a lot of gravity for you so that you can get through that. This is why you joined SubTo. You did not join SubTo for education. You joined SubTo so people could get you through transactions.
Yes, definitely.
The education's great. The community's amazing. I'm sure you've experienced that, but you really want people to help you get through transactions. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm. No, it sure
Okay.
does.
Cool. Reach out to Carly. Email Carly and she'll help you out. Okay.
I will. You're amazing. Thank you.
Okay. No problem.
All right. Bye.
James Palmgren, how can I help you? What do you got? Roger Woods, how can I help you, Roger Woods? What do you got? Dariel Reyes. Dariel Reyes, what do you got for me?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you. What do you got, Dariel? How can I help you?
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, first of all.
No problem. What do you got?
So, hang on, Everett. Okay, so one of the things I've noticed is that it seems like the most important thing is like finding out the seller's reason for selling.
It's the
And, like,
nothing
they're
else
paying
is
in
more
what-
important. Nothing else is more important.
Yep. So I guess to go with that, do you have like a list of questions like when you first started that like helps you get to that seller's reason for selling, or do you just go with the flow?
Yeah, the first question is, why are you selling? Second question is, who would you say is a perfect buyer for you? It depends on the asset too. Like, what do you want to buy, Daryl?
Single family housing, just starting off.
Okay, cool.
And
So
maybe like
single
2 to
family
4.
houses care way less about who's buying the property. RV parks, mobile home parks, apartments, all of that kind of stuff. They care so much about who's buying the property. So you're going to change your line of questioning in, have you watched my seller finance conversations on YouTube?
Yeah, I have. They sent me the master class, like the
Okay.
11 video, email.
Yeah. And have you watched those?
Yeah, I have. It's very nice, very good. So
Yeah, okay, cool.
I
Then
do have somewhat
is
of
there
an
any
idea
other
of what.
follow-up questions you have? Because those go through the exact questions that I ask.
Okay, no, I'll just watch it again and just take notes this time around.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And I would say, here's how I would look at any situation with a seller in single family. Why am I here? Why haven't you still sold the house? What's going on? The number one question I ask is, catch me up to speed. Where are you at in the process? What would be a perfect outcome for you and I? Right? Like, even when you're taking somebody out on a date for the first time. My wife I met 16 years ago, and the first question I asked her was like, obviously we're on a date, but what's your long-term vision? Are you trying to get married? Are you casually dating? What is your speed? And my wife at the time was my girlfriend, or my first date. She was like, wow, you're fast. I go, like, do you want a man that dilly-dallies, or you want somebody that's serious about, the conversation? And she's like, I want somebody that's serious. I go, perfect. I intend to get married. I'm dating to get married. I'm dating to have children. I want to go build a family. That's my intention here. And most of my question of getting to know you is going to understand, like, if we're a good fit. And I think you should do the same thing with me. And she's like, wow, I respect this so much. Like, everybody else is wasting my time. Here's the number one way to build rapport. Can I show you how to build rapport? I'm going to teach you something really powerful, my friends.
Yeah.
The way we build rapport is credibility. Okay, what is credibility? Well, credibility comes in a lot of shapes and sizes, but the number one part of credibility is showing the seller that you care. What does that mean? Seller's retiring. Cool. Where are you moving to? What's going on? Awesome. So when you sell this house, where are you going to move to? Oh, that's cool. So you're going to move into your sister? That's awesome. Awesome. Okay. You're going to actually understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, et cetera. And sometimes if you do this in a like scripty way, you're reading off a script like an idiot. By the way, nobody wants you to talk on a script, right? If you take somebody on a date, how many women in here want to be taken on a date where the man reads off a script? And give me a yes or a no in the side chat. And okay. So scripts are not a real thing. And in sales, they're not a real thing. People are lying to you. What they're doing with scripts, I'll tell you the honest truth. When people tell you, here's the script and what to follow, they're assuming you're an idiot and that you need a script. I'm going to tell you the honest truth. I can tell if somebody's using a script and I want to hang up on them right away. How many people agree with this? You want to hang up on somebody the second they're reading off a script. And you can tell they're reading off a script. Okay, so let's just throw scripts out of the way and let's assume every person that you're going to talk to is a future friend. Be genuinely concerned and show them that you care and be what I call a deal detective. Okay, this is number 2 is be a deal detective. I'm trying to be a detective of like, why don't you rent the property out? Why don't you put it on the market? Why am I here? Right? And when you show them that you're not trying to sell them on anything, which you truly are not, and you're actually caring about them, it brings credibility, which brings rapport. Have you guys ever met somebody in your life have you guys ever heard or saw somebody online or saw somebody in a Facebook group or whatever you just did not like, and then you meet them in person, you're like, man, you're actually kind of cool. I was being a jerk. Anybody feel like that? I've done that in my life multiple times. That's called rapport. When we as human beings build rapport with somebody, we go, man, I was wrong about them. Okay, here's a better way to ask this question, or think about this. Have you guys ever gotten something that breaks the rules because the person that's allowed to give it to you likes you? For example, a lower priced airfare, a lower priced hotel stay, a lower priced anything, free tickets to something because they liked you. Okay, that's rapport. That's building rapport. If somebody likes you, they're going to give you things and they're going to work out deals that they wouldn't work out with somebody else. I've bought countless amount of deals because people just like me. Why do people like me? Is it because I follow a script? Man, I really like that Pace guy. He followed a script. No. People like me because they can tell I genuinely care. And when I'm asking questions like, why am I here? Catch me up to speed. What have you done in the process? It basically gives you all the information, and it's not a strategy. It's not a tactic. It genuinely is what I need. I can't help you if I don't know what's going on. And when you get a broker, just to kind of dial in on this a little bit deeper, if you get a broker that says stuff like, well, why do you need to know that about the seller? I'll say stuff like, well, it helps me understand timelines based on other deals I'm looking at when I understand what the seller's going through. Is this something I need to prioritize? Is this something I can hold off? Like understanding the seller and what their needs are a little bit more helps me understand where do I put this in my pipeline. Make sense?
It does. Thanks, Pace.
Cool, no problem. So guys, again, look at the ladies in the side chat. Ladies in the side chat, you want a man to ask you on a date and then just read off a script or read something you learned on ChatGPT? Yes or no? No, you don't. Mandala, McAllister. You've got an interesting last name with an interesting first name. Those are 2 different ethnicities. I love it. What do you got?
It is, yeah. Thanks so much for having me. I actually wanted to get your insight on how to structure a deal. I actually just during the call, someone called me back for a seller finance. He's bought the property outright and he's open to carry the note. It's about a 200K duplex. And, I'm from Canada. I'm watching all your videos, learning how to do it, realizing it's not as applicable in Canada. So now I just started pivoting
Why
to
would you
States.
say it's not applicable? Is it because I don't have an accent? Like, why was it not be applicable?
No, like the whole seller finance, creative finance, it's harder to do in Canada.
It's not harder to do in Canada.
Okay, well,
Tell me one reason why it'd be harder to do in Canada. Just one.
I guess the mortgage rates fluctuation.
Okay, that's a SubTo deal. You said seller finance. Those are completely 2 different things. Seller finance is identical to the United States. Identical.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good to know. Well,
okay, so subject to is where the seller, you also asked a question about, I have a seller I'm talking to, they have the house paid off outright. Okay, well, that wouldn't have anything to do with mortgage rates, would it? There is no mortgage. This guy has it paid off free and clear. So that would be a seller finance deal that would be identical to the United States. Where it is different is you guys, if you are taking over somebody else's mortgage subject to, which will be the topic of tomorrow, you are obviously dealing with temporary mortgages in Canada, whereas we don't, right? Your government hates you. Sorry, it's true. They do not want you to make money. They want you to be prisoners of your country. I don't know why that is, but it's a socialist regime. In some ways, so good. I think, I've been to 5 different parts of your country, and it's one of the most incredible freaking countries. The people are so great, but the government's got a couple of things wonky. One of them is your mortgages. So yes, I agree on the SubTo side. which is why a lot of my Canadian SubTo students just do deals in America to do SubTo, but they do a lot of seller finance deals in Canada. So don't worry about doing creative finance deals in Canada. It is fully applicable.
Okay. And then for this one that I'm talking about, this is actually in the US,
Okay.
where I'm still not quite sure how to structure the deal. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts where he wants to get out of it because the people like you had in the past are not paying the rent. And now it needs some upgrades to the property to really get it up to stuff to where he wants to sell it. So then he's open to the creative finance, but I just don't know how to really quite send the offer out and propose a proper kind of script to make the deal go through. And what would you suggest for me to make it a win-win on our side? Who do I hand it off to? All of this type of stuff.
Okay. Are you in my community? Yes or no?
On Facebook, just the creative finance community, not in SubTo, though.
That's not, I would never call that a community. I call that a group. A community is a filtered, vetted group of people. That would be a community, right? A group is like, I don't have the ability to vet the people in that free group. It's a good group and we provide a lot of value there, but that is not my community. I want to be very clear. I own that group. I run that group. We control that group. We provide value, but I'm not doing deals with people actively in there. We're not doing Zooms on a daily basis. We're not doing a lot of stuff in there, but you're in the free group. So your question is, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Well, you called on the property for a reason. So what do you want to do? Do you want to own it, wholesale it? What do you want to do with that property? Why are you calling on it?
Probably wholesale it. Obviously, I don't have the equity to put into the property to fix it up right now. So yeah, I want to see how to get the quickest turnaround and who would buy it, how to structure the deal so that it's win for the seller, and then obviously we can take it over.
Okay, cool. So let's start with the first thing you should have started with is definitely not calling sellers. So the first thing that we should start with is calling buyers. What city is this in?
In Dallas.
Okay, so if you go, a lot of people in this free training are probably looking for free stuff. And so let's just go to propwire.com. It's completely free. Do not call sellers, do not call brokers, do not call anybody until you have a buyer. Because what you're now doing is you're negotiating with a broker, you're negotiating with a seller, you're negotiating with somebody on fictitious terms. And those fictitious terms are, I'm a buyer. Well, obviously you're not a buyer. So let's not say you are a buyer until we have a buyer to partner with. So let's go to Dallas. That's what you said where it is. I might have lost him.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in Dallas. So check this out. So if I go to propwire.com, it's completely free. I can go to these filters and I'm going to go to lead types. I'm going to go to cash buyers. Cash buyers will buy just about anything. They'll do creative finance deals as well. There are 97,477 buyers in this town. You should know 15 of them before you call a single seller. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. I would say I want in-state buyers. I want individuals. Yes, cash buyer, years of ownership, properties owned. I want minimum 25 properties owned by the person I'm going to call. So I'm not wasting my time. They actually own 25 properties. And now I've dwindled this down to 1,547 results. Okay, you following me here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Now you're going to zero in on a closer part of the city to wherever this is and go, okay, well, obviously somebody right here owns a single family property. I'm going to click on it and be like, oh, well, let's find out who the owner is. Well, there it is. Jonathan W. Max Portfolio. He owns $39 million in properties. This is your buyer. Okay, so you need to call this buyer before you call sellers. And the reason being is because the person that determines the value of a property is the buyer. It's not you, it's not the seller. The buyer is who determines the value of the property. And so what you need to do is find the buyer first, then start calling in that area. What everybody does wrong is it's kind of interesting. Like, what do you do for a living?
We import natural stone. From
okay, you
overseas.
import it to buyers who are doing countertops, et cetera, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Would you just bring in a bunch of random stone that you don't know if buyers are going to buy it?
No.
You are bringing in stone based on what buyers are actively buying, and you are adjusting along the way to accommodate what is more in season or more popular than it was 4 years ago, correct?
Yeah.
So why are you doing the opposite in wholesaling?
Yeah, I guess you get gung ho. You see, yeah, paste Morby's group. Okay, let's just send it out there and so we'll buy. So that's what this is clarifying, that
I mean, I talk
misconception.
about this thousands of times. I tell them, how many people have heard me say, don't call sellers, don't call anybody without having a buyer lined up? How many people have heard me say that about 1,000 times? And the problem is I could say it till I'm blue in the face. Look how many yeses I'm getting in the side chat. It's like, it's crazy, right? So you will get stuck when you don't have an actual buyer. Now, here's where the challenge is. The bigger challenge is not what I just showed you. Like, I made a couple of clicks and we made some, significant strides here. Well, the problem is now you got to call these people. And you don't know if these buyers are actively buying or not. They have property. That's kind of a nice feeling. You also can't control whether they're going to pick up the phone. You can't control whether they're going to screw you and go around your back. Most of them would not, especially people at this large of a portfolio. They're not going to screw you because they didn't get to where they are by screwing people. That, contrary to poor people's beliefs, people that are rich are usually actually very honest people. They do what they're supposed to do, and that compounds over time and they get really rich. So this lady, poor people are always like, somebody's going to take advantage of me. That's what broke people think. Rich people would never do that. Their reputation gets torn way too fast. But if you find where your house is, I don't know where it is. We don't need to talk about that. But there's a part of Dallas Metro that this property's in.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to zero in on that, and you're going to go and call the 15 or 20 people in here. You're not going to stop calling until you find somebody that's like, you go, hey, I'm brand new to real estate, and I'm calling sellers, and I'm running into sellers that say yes. And I don't know what to offer them because I'm not buying. I want to get a finder's fee for bringing you a deal. So I'm wondering, me being new and all, if you would be okay if I send you properties and then you say yes, no, and then tell me what price you would pay and what terms you would give me if I could lock that deal up and give me a finder's fee for locking it up. Is that something you'd be willing to do? Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to go do it the way that, I don't know why people teach it this way, but they do. They're going to teach, go find a property, get it under contract, and then submit it for buyers. That's not how this works. You just determine the price. You who don't know anything about comps, you who don't know anything about creative finance other than, oh, I could do these things, are going to lock up somebody in a contract and then say, holy crap, I'm now in a legal binding contract. And in Texas, you lose your earnest money on your transactions if you don't close escrow. It's one of 5 states that don't give you your earnest money back. So you're going to lose earnest money, you're going to lose sleep, and you're going to go, holy crap, I don't want to do that again. Meanwhile, if you just start with the buyer and then every day you're sending the buyer, hey, I just called the seller. What do you think? Hey, I just called the seller. What do you think? Hey, I'm stuck on this. What do you think? That will change your life. And so a lot of people will end up joining SubTo just so they can get introduced to legitimate buyers that I do deals with. And other people will go through and you'll call 100 people on non-SubTo lists, which is PropWire. But if you're going the free route, you're going to have to go through a lot of thorns in order to get to your rose. And that is going to be your challenging part. It's not finding sellers that are willing. That's very simple. Mm-hmm. It's finding buyers that are willing to work with you and coach you along instead of just going, hey, send me something when you have it under contract. You've got to find the buyers that are willing to work with you. It's about, you'll make about 150 phone calls to get 2 buyers. But if your goal is to go down the free road, then be okay stepping on some thorns to get to the rose. And you can do this business very simply. It just requires about 150 phone calls, which I'm sure you're good at doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, that's super helpful. So join the SubTo community, and then that'll clear out everything. Obviously,
I mean, I'm a buyer of people's in SubTo, right? Like Carly, who runs the webinar, I've bought deals from her. We do $25 billion a year in transactions together, all in our little economy. And so there's a filtered group of buyers. It's about 4,000 filtered group of buyers that have been verified, vetted, actively buying, that will actually just get on the phone and close the deal for you. They'll do the paperwork for you. They'll walk through the transactions with you. They'll partner with you. They have been coached by me. They follow our protocol. They follow our safety stuff. They make sure that everything's taken care of on your side because they have a reputation to uphold inside the community. And if they ever take advantage of you, we kick them out, and we blacklist them. And so there's that group of people is like here's a good example. Watch how awesome this is. Okay. I do this every couple of weeks for SubTo members, but if I go to my SubTo Facebook group and I click on my feature tab, I just typed this a couple of days ago. I said, hey, pretend I'm new to SubTo. This was on April 3rd. Pretend I'm new to SubTo. Make a comment and tell me who you are and what you can do to help me. So check this out. Let's just randomly check this out. Okay. Justin Piquel. Hey, SubTo family. Let me reintroduce myself. I've been in real estate for 3.5 years. He joined SubTo, and I've completed 250 plus deals. I mainly focus on wholesaling for fast cash opportunities. If you want me to, my team to collaborate in some way, message me. See, that's the first person. Second person. Hey, Pace, been in SubTo since May 22. I've closed deals in 26 states so far. My name is John. I live in the trenches with sellers every day, especially for you see how simple this is?
Yeah.
Hey, third person. Hey, Alexis Morgan, welcome to SubTo. Happy to help you get your deals funded. I'm a private money lender. I've funded over $50 million in transactions since joining SubTo. She got her first, I know these people intimately. She got her first deal door knocking, and somebody else bought the deal from her at $20,000. She scaled and she funded $50 million in deals in SubTo. There's 225 comments that have been made that are just like that. You see the difference in joining a community versus let me cold call free lists and do free things and all that kind of stuff. Does that make a difference?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what you do. I'm just telling you there are pathways. It's like you could change your own oil, right? And struggle with it, do it wrong, get oil all over you and fumble through it and try and save yourself $69. Or you can just go to Jiffy Lube and pay them $69. They're done in 30 minutes, right? There's a difference in your outcome. What are you trying to accomplish? And people in the very beginning that are like trying to save that $69 are like, I got to do something. I got to start somewhere. I'm like, go watch YouTube and struggle through it, right? There, you'll both be successful. It's just a matter of how fast you want to be successful and how much support and help you want right out of the gate, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. No, that's super valuable. Thank you. Thank you so much
No problem.
for that.
Okay, guys, I've been with you for 2 hours and 40 minutes. We did a lot of Q&A today. What we're going to talk about tomorrow primarily is like, where do these deals come from? How do I submit offers? We're going to talk a lot about subject to lease options, dating contracts, etc. Tomorrow, we're going to go a little bit deeper into more creative finance strategies. Did we cover seller finance today in a way that you're like, I understand seller finance? It's a property that's paid off free and clear, and the seller is letting me make the monthly payments. Do we understand creative finance? Okay. Was today super helpful for you guys? 2.5 hours. I've learned that I used to do these trainings for like 6-7 hours. People wear out. You can already see I lost 300 people along the last hour because people can't hang out for 2 hours and 40 minutes. I will be back same time, same link, same time. Don't wait for the email, guys. I'll be back same link, same time. I'm also going to be, Lavana Meyer says, I've never heard back from your team on any one of either property. Okay, Lavana, let me chat with you. Let me give you some feedback real quick. If my team doesn't reply to you, it's because you sent me something my team doesn't want. And very specifically, I said this online multiple times. If you send me something outside of my buy box, my team won't even reply to you. They're too busy. They're not even going to reply. If you're busy sending us stuff that is not in the buy box, you should recognize that my team is too busy even reply and try and coach you along. Lavana, where did you send your deals? What email did you send it to? Lavana Myers. All right, no problem. So Lavana Myers, you can send, if you are in the SubTo community, I'll do a deal with you. If you are not, you should go find somebody else to do a deal with. I do deals privately with my community, but if you are in the SubTo community, send an email to heather@pacemorby.com. But before you do that, go to pacesbuybox.com, pacesbuybox.com, and see what I'm actually actively buying. And don't send stuff to us outside of our buy box, or else my team just goes, oh, not in our buy box, delete, not in our buy box, delete. Why do we do that? We do that because a lot of people just spam thousands of people in email like over and over and over and over, and we just get hit with those emails all the time. And so I tell my team, don't waste the time replying to every email. If it doesn't fit our buy box, just don't reply because it's probably a spam message. And so hopefully that makes sense for all of you guys. Guys, we will be back tomorrow, same time. I've got a couple of sellers I'm calling on a mobile home park tomorrow. So if you guys came specifically to learn more about mobile home parks tomorrow, I've got 2 sellers I'm calling mobile home parks within the first 20 minutes of starting tomorrow. So please show up on time. Don't be like Daniel that showed up today an hour and a half late and was like, bro,